Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another game of the Rugby World Cup. We are getting very close to the business end of the competition, and in this one, Australia taking on the Portuguese, two sides that are still looking to get themselves that last win of their Rugby World Cup, and for Portugal, their first ever win in a Rugby World Cup competition. The way that the group sits currently, with the result from yesterday between Fiji and Georgia, it means that the Australians, they do still have a fine chance of making it through to the quarterfinals, but they would need to win this game up against Portugal with a bonus point, which they will receive from scoring 4 or more tries. Currently, England, they have confirmed their spot in Pool D in the quarterfinals. Argentina, Japan, they are playing next week to determine who gets themselves second. And also, while we are looking at it, we might as well look at Pool A, a very close one. New Zealand, they are almost safe as long as they beat Uruguay in their next contest, and then it will be France versus Italy, which could end up being the decider of who makes it through in that pool. For Pool B, Ireland at the top, South Africa and Scotland both sitting on the 10 points. You'll notice a trend for these two groups. One side at the top undefeated, two sides chomping on their heels, trying to get into that top two. It's going to be a very entertaining last round of the Rugby World Cup. In the chat, we have got the afternoon. Hamish says, Penny Lane, welcome. Welcome. Hope you are doing very well. And howdy, Hamish says, be boop. And also, we have got Yeah Hoop says, Trajan and g'day, Big Hamish says, Ian Foster. I did see your point that you made earlier on about Dave Parecki, Pattaya, and also Tom Hooper in the Aussie side. The big thing for Australia here is just going to be trying to find some sort of way of getting themselves the victory. Like, it has to be a comfortable one, though, because or else then, well, even a comfortable, it's a tricky one for Australia at the moment, I'll be honest, because if they win comfortably, then people will go, why didn't you do that last week? Why didn't you do that in your game up against Fiji? What went wrong in those two games that you weren't able to do what they're going to do in this game? That is if they do end up playing very well. But looking through at this Australian starting lineup, it is Angus Bell, Dave Parecki and James Slipper. So the same as what they did have in their last contest. Nick Frost and Richie Arnold as the locking duo. Tom Hooper at 6. Fraser McWright at number 7. And Rob Bellatini as the number 8. It is going to be Tate McDermott and Ben Donaldson as the 9-10 combo. Lalakai Feketi and Isaiah Parisi. They will be there in the midfield. And Isaiah Parisi making his Rugby World Cup debut for this contest. Marika Korombeti, Mark Nwanga-Netawasi and Andrew Callaway. So actually very similar to what they did have in the last game, aside from that midfield combo where they have gone with the two Waratahs players and Feketi and also Parisi, and alongside that you've actually got Ben Donaldson of the Tars. So maybe a bit of chemistry between those three. For the Portuguese, we've seen them do some great things throughout this Rugby World Cup. They got very close to beating the Georgians, but they did end up drawing 18 points to all. Patella and Marquez as the 9-10 combo. I think that they're just going to be definitely something to watch out for. Alongside that McDermott and Donaldson combo, Appleton, the captain at 12, Bentoncourt in his outside, and then Storti, Mata and Guedes, the 3 men at the back, who offer quite a bit of attacking prowess. And I hope Portugal will be able to step up to this contest, because that's the thing. Last game up against Georgia, they were narrowly unable to get themselves the victory. This contest, they've got a very good chance, definitely against a wounded Wallabies team, to be able to get themselves their first ever Rugby World Cup victory. Does Eddie Jones resign immediately after Wallabies lose this afternoon, says Mo? Depends what his Japan contract is saying. But overall, like, that's the thing. I think after Japan's last win, and if Japan beat Argentina, maybe they won't even want Eddie Jones, because he did say that that was all a lie about the coaching opportunity, but you just never know, do you? And how you going, Amish? There's David, doing all right. I had a goo, says Trajan, and also we have a good day, hey, Hamish and everyone. Says Stulberger, welcome in. Aussie to win it 27 points to 9. So Andre, is that with or without a bonus point? Out of curiosity, because of course if that is with, they still have a chance of going through in this World Cup. If that's without, they will be missing out on the quarterfinals. No leadership, mate, that's the answer. And also best like Portugal, says Penny Lane. Morning, says Yvonne, welcome in. Get me in the house. I think I'll switch on the fire, says Gert. And also hi Hamish, I says Aniki, welcome in. And bad time to be experimenting in a World Cup. Eddie Jones says Trajan, score prediction. I think this game's going to be relatively close, but then there's also the chance if one of these two sides do end up, I guess, steamrolling, it would be the Aussies. But the big question mark is whether or not Portugal have one more big game left in their gas tank for this Rugby World Cup, because they are quite a passionate team. They play with a lot of heart. and determination. But that game up against Georgia, when they were all but able to get that victory and just narrowly missing out, that takes a lot out of a side. And for the Australians to know that this could be the first time in the Rugby World Cup's history that they miss out on a quarterfinals, that will also be weighing heavy on their minds. Without a bonus point, unfortunately, says Andre. And also Australia 2, Portugal 1. And Aussie 50, Portugal 0. And I suppose Portugal is going to lose, but 18 all. Anything can happen, says Jeffrey. And can the Australian team qualify, says Joshua? They can. Theoretically, they need to win this game with a bonus point, and then Portugal would have to beat Fiji next week. We have got there, getting there, Portugal win-win. And also we have got there, don't know what you're talking about, mate, says Ian Foster. And there, was that to me, Ian, or was that to someone in the chat? We have got there, best of luck to both teams, says Stahl, and also hello, Hamish, and all the rugby fans here, says Desmond. And when we win, Portugal go, boys, and maybe. There's also Capricis with no loyalty, says Yvonne. Well, that's what Sonny Bill Williams was saying after the game. And he is, well, he's a New Zealander, but said that his kids are Australian. And he said, if you're one of those players who are out there on the field and you know that Eddie Jones, there's a chance that he's going to be jumping ship after this World Cup, like, you're not going to go out there and play your heart out for him, because why would you follow a leader who's going to ditch you straight after a World Cup? They were pretty much his words. He seemed like he wanted to get into a boxing match with Eddie Jones, but these are the previous results for the Australians. As you can see, 3 out of the last 4 games have been losses. If we went back to the Rugby Championship, so far under Eddie Jones, the Australians have had about 7 or 8 games, only winning the one contest, and that was up against Georgia. Now, they were able to win it, 35 points to 15, so that is one promising sign for the Australians in this Rugby World Cup. It was their opening fixture, but since then, they have just struggled just a little bit more than they would have liked, and that's to take nothing away, by the way, from Fiji, because the way that Fiji were able to get 13 turnovers in that game up against the Australians, it was putting a huge amount of pressure on Australia. They were having 18 penalties against them. In the Welsh game, I believe they gave away about that same amount, alongside dropping the ball 15 times. So the 6 is justified in their match up against the Welsh, and it's just that big question mark of how much has this team improved over one single week to go out there and put on a massive show. And I should mention this is the last game for the Australians in their Rugby World Cup. They do have to bye in the last round of the group stage for Portugal. They had to win over the USA. They played Australia A, and they were defeated 30 points to 17. And that Australia A, some feel, was a bit stronger than what the Wallabies have been putting out. Wales versus Portugal, 28 points to 8, and 18 all up against the Georgians. So they have got the ability of scoring tries, and it's just that big question mark of who are going to be the players in that back line that step up. I think Marquez's experience will definitely play factor here. Quite an aged veteran at number 9, but the next game for Portugal, it is in 8 days. Well, now it's around 7 days, and that's going to be up against the Flying Fijians, and that game could determine who goes through in the group, depending on the result of what happens in this game. I should mention, if Portugal win this game, they actually can still qualify for the quarterfinals as well. So there's a lot on the line for them in this game, not so much just trying to cause an upset, but actually for their own Rugby World Cup campaign. We look at this game, theoretically to win this, I would like to think they'd have to score 4 or more tries. And even if they don't, then the thing is, as long as they're on 6 points heading into that Fijian game and Fiji don't get the bonus point, Portugal would actually go through to the quarterfinals. So I believe they will play their absolute hearts out, and I hope that they realise that that is a scenario that could happen if they do win this game. Portugal generally aren't that bad though, mate, says Ian Foster. And there they aren't. They're actually a very strong side. I've mentioned this from the get-go. I said in the overall Rugby World Cup preview myself and Rugby Itch did on his channel, I said that they were my team to watch out for, because everyone's underestimating what they can do, and they've just got a real tight-knit group of players who look like they're going to go out there each and every week and try and put their hearts on their sleeves and play for their country. They talk about trying to inspire the next generation of rugby in Portugal, and I feel like this World Cup we have seen that personified throughout the players. Come on, Portugal, says Sportsfan. Tuning in from Namibia. Appreciate your effort covering these games, Hamish, says Bruno. And I should mention we have got another game that has taken place just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Springboks taking on Tonga. We will be covering that one on the channel as well. What time is the game? How many hours left? It is only 5 minutes away. We just got the national anthems as the two sides will be making their way out of the tunnel, and then we are straight into the action. Portugal to win by 30, says Ian Foster. And what's the player lineup for Australia, says Stefan. We will be showing it in a very short moment. Hello again, Kiwi lads. Enjoyed the Panthers win over the Broncos. I saw the score and I saw when the Panthers were able to score their points. They certainly left it a bit late, but the champions 3 years in a row, it's getting a little bit similar to the Crusaders in Super Rugby, isn't it? And I have folks clicked on Portugal to win just to piss the Aussies off, says Peter Wild. And Portugal play a nice brand of rugby. Yeah, they've got one of the smoothest backlines, I believe, that we've seen throughout this Rugby World Cup. Definitely in that first game that they played. And that was up against the Welsh. It would actually probably surprise quite a few people. Your predictions, says Michael. I believe that Australia will get themselves the victory, maybe around that 32 points to 19, somewhere around there. I wouldn't think would be a mile off, but it's extremely hard to tell what Wallabies side will be showing up for this game. Are we saying, mate, a lot of remembrance of Eddie Jones after he loses his job? Says Ian Foster, and also yes, Panthers and Satyrs dominance. Says Blues Date there. No way Australia going to lose this. Says Trajan. And there's one. Europeans just won the Ryder Cup. Says Mornay. I had almost avoided all spoilers of that competition. I'll be honest, after this weekend, I was going to sit down all throughout the week and watch it. I was hoping to not know, but now I guess do know the exact result. But I'll try still to enjoy it, even though I know what's going to happen. Looking through at the starting lineup for the Australians, Angus Bell, Dave Parecki and James Slipper will be the front row. Nick Frost and Richie Arnold as the locking duo. Tom Hooper at 6, Fraser McWright at number 7 and Rob Valentini. So the only real change there is the fact that Tom Hooper has moved back to 6 and then Fraser McWright into that starting lineup at number 7 to get that opportunity in the breakdown. Steve McDermott and Ben Donaldson, they will be the 9-10 combo. Lalakai Fekete and Isaiah Parisi, they will be 12 and 13, the two TARS teammates alongside the fly half Donaldson. Marika Korompedi out on the left wing. That man's done nowhere near enough throughout this Rugby World Cup, and I feel like if he doesn't get a lot of carries in this game, I mean, who do you put out there on the wing if he's gone? But they need someone who's willing to go out there, get a few carries, like 10 carries in this game minimum for Marika Korompedi, I believe, is what the Australians need. Mark Nwanganitawasi, same from him, and Andrew Callaway at number 15. Then for the Portuguese, I mentioned about that back line with Marquez and Portela as the 9-10 combo. Wallace, Martins and Freitas as the loose board trio will be very entertaining to watch. And also Diego Ferreira in the front row alongside Tejier and Costa will be looking to be strong up front up against this Wallabies side. Try and put them under that pressure early, and then they've got that nice, I guess, balance at the back of Rafael Estorti, and also Guedes at number 15. We've got there Hamish the Stags had a win, says Peter Wild, and A. Imposter, why are you trying to diss Rassi with incorrect stats? And also hello, says Canelo Alvarez versus Jamel Carlo Live. Hello, welcome in. If you are doing well. And also Toby, 80 will lose his stuff. Wildcard will have a heart attack, says Cameron Day. And also we have got there, bro, if the Hawks based on my shield from me. And also, how good are you in golf, says Mono Lagrange. Not to that level, that is for sure, but I'm slowly getting better, I guess. And after Pies, says Blues Nate. And also, I bet Eddie Jones looked at the drawer and thought, easy draw. Should be able to look good here, says Trajan. At least get Hamish to 50,000 subs by the end of the Rugby World Cup, says Andrew. Although we are already halfway through this Rugby World Cup competition. In fact, over half. By the time that these two games today finish, it is only going to be another 16 games left of the Rugby World Cup competition. It's absolutely flown by as well. Very good pronunciation, says Grant. Thank you very much. Who's Eddie Jones, says David Richards. And also, would be quite a miracle for Portugal to win, says Charles. I mean, some would consider it a miracle, but also, like, they aren't as big of an underdog as they should have been heading into this game, if that makes sense. And that is because of what Portugal have been able to do throughout this Rugby World Cup and the lack of form that we have seen from the Wallabies. We have got Casey has said, did you get enough sleep? I got some sleep, which is always a good start. And then 40,000 subs, says Andrew. I think that would be a huge goal, but if we somehow got there, it would be absolutely incredible. Are there enough rugby union supporters in Australia to call it public? Says Gareth. And yep, Penny, says Toby. Do you have a favourite golf player, says Mornay Lagrange? I have a few that I don't mind watching, although I will mention I don't like watching golf as much as I like playing it. I feel like playing it, you know, when they're doing it and it's all landing near the pin, it's not very accurate in terms of like what happens if I go hit a ball. So I normally play it rather than watching it. Now Marika Korompedi, they're showing him out on the wing. This left-hand side, they've got the three TARS players across the back line. Tate McDermott of the Reds. In fact, 4 Waratahs players, because Mark Ngawanganetawasi also falls into that kind of grouping. The thing is, though, we talked about it earlier on as well. The Wallaby player pool. The fact that 4 Waratahs players are in there and the Waratahs were knocked out in the quarterfinals of Super Rugby. Is this team good enough to be able to compete at international level, or is there still something missing for them? I've got to say about golf. Says Grant, golf is boring to watch. The Australian, yeah, I feel like if you're playing it, it's all right. If you're watching it, sometimes people do not like it that much. Scottish, watching from France, and you, says Toby, but the Portuguese will kick off this one from left to right, and this game now underway between these two sides. Can the Wallabies find their redemption arc and start it in the last game of their Rugby World Cup campaign? Now rolling forward, just outside of their 22. So Richie Arnold is the one at the back who has got this ball available for the rolling maul. Now I should mention with an all-new midfield combo, moving away from Samu Karevi and also Jordan Pataya. I feel like that may actually benefit the Wallabies. Seeing his last game, Karevi just a little bit out of form. The Wallabies may have poor form. They still from the best. Portugal is from the bottom. Says Charles, and I think that's just the underestimation, is that a word? Of what Portugal can do, because we saw their game up against the Georgians last week. They were close to winning it. And Australia, well, theoretically, according to that means Australia should win this game by 20 points. Now, it looks like already they've put more phases together than they did throughout that whole game up against the Welsh, when they did have 15 handling errors throughout that game. Zaya Perezi after Ngawanganetawasi now driving forward. Izzy Parisi. This is what the Australians need to do. Just hang on to the ball. Wear down this Portuguese defence, because Portugal, they are a side that haven't played as many top sides over the last 12 months or so. So theoretically, they should start to wear down as the game goes on. But if you keep them in the game, that is not gone. From Tate McDermott, it's already started and we are only 90 seconds in. We have got there me from Ireland. I'm predicting Australian blowout. They are bad, but not that bad, says Gareth. And also Eddie couldn't care less if Australia lost. He's got a job in Japan, says Lindale. Although the thing is, you look at like Japan with a chance of, if they beat Argentina, going through to the quarterfinals, and you wonder whether or not they'll look at Eddie Jones's form and be like, actually, we might keep our current coach, thank you. He seems like he's starting to work it out. Australia by 40-ish, says Gareth. Fishing is also boring to watch, but something very exciting to do and catch something, says Stahlberger. And also Aussies at their poorest form are still better than Portugal unless there's something funny with refereeing. Says Charles, you're obsessed with the refereeing, aren't you? Seems to be, in your eyes, the only way an upset can happen is if the referee lets the underdog win rather than them just playing well. Marquez to feed the ball and pack weight, heavy advantage to the Wallabies, and I think we're going to see that throughout this match. It is already a penalty in favour of Australia. That was for the knee going down, an extra 70 or so kgs in their advantage here for the Wallabies. That's pretty much a chucking. How much do I weigh? Yeah, that's about chucking a me extra in the scrum. Now, I wouldn't have a lot of shove, and I don't, says Trajan. And remember, that's South African guy who won the Masters in 2007. Says, cool story, bro. I do not know. And also, we have got there, well done, Ian Foster, Viva la All Blacks, says Ruth. And Ireland's the island of future world champs, says Toby. And also, hi guys, yes, Ruth, great to get the washing done. Aiden from Cape Town. Ben Donaldson, they will be lining up the 3 points here, the Wallabies. Big opportunity here to try and, I guess, right some of the wrongs throughout this Rugby World Cup, because if they can finish this game with a bonus point, that at least gets them a half chance, although they have to rely on Portugal kind of taking them down to the wire so that they have confidence going into their Fijian game next week. Very much. So when you replay the game, see how bad reffing changes the game, says Charles. But yeah, like, you can't call every upset in the rugby world ever down to refereeing though, can you? Theoretically. Like, at the end of the day, sometimes people just play better than the other team. Hello, Grant. I'm sitting in the local pub with a bunch of Yobo South African rugby fans waiting for the Bok match, and why Pens run at Wallabies, says a Blues Nate. But they have now taken the early lead, 3 points to nil after the 4 minutes. Kick deep inside of Wallabies territory. Now Donaldson looks for the touchline. Good bit of that one as well, down towards the halfway line. Portugal will have themselves the line out. How far are you from Greenwich, Cape Town? Says Chronic. And also wasn't boring at all, says Chris. Well, that's the thing. I was going to watch the whole of the Ryder Cup, probably throughout this week. And at this point, well, about maybe 10 minutes ago, I didn't know who won it. I didn't know any of the points. So I was going to keep it as a complete secret for myself. But yeah, now I know who won it. Although I should have probably expected that I would find out at some stage throughout these live streams. We have good there, Europe and Vita most sports, says Penny Lane. And theory and practice miles apart, but I'll stop with the bad reffing, says Charles, until there's a decision you don't like, and then I'm sure we will see you once again, Charles. Now going to the left-hand side, Marquez. Appleton, the captain, looping around here. It is going to be Costa Storti. Finds his pass on the outside to the fullback, Guedes. Keeps himself in the field of play almost. No, he has just gone a little bit too wide, drifting out. And good tackle made by, it was Callaway, 150 kilometres just outside Menace. And also thanks Ian Foster. Wish you the best for the next games. But better be ready for this one, says Ruth. And also Morgan Amish says, Dar, welcome in. If I had to watch golf, it would be one of the majors, not the Ryder Cup, says Trajan. See, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people who don't like watching that much golf quite enjoy the Ryder Cup because of the constant, it's almost like the golf version of the Ashes, I would say, to a certain extent, how it's like two regions going head-to-head, or two countries, or two, actually, continents in this case, going up against each other. Europe exported most sports. Colonisation, says Gareth, and also Australia taking 3 points against Portugal, says Randre. And Go Appleton, says Ian Foster. And there's, yes, they did, says Penny Lane. And isn't Eddie Jones the best coach in rugby history? I'm sure he is, says Chronic. Well, he's caused a lot of upsets throughout his time. Eddie Jones, coaching Japan, coaching England. Now, possibly going back to Japan after this Australian World Cup. It's going to be a loose ball, but nicely cleaned up there by, I believe it was De Freitas at number 8. Now skip pass out wide, finding Storti once more. Missed tackle from Marika Corumbeti, but driving one from Lalakai Faketi. Counter-ruck from Isaiah Parisi. Doesn't end up with the ball. Marquez. Now back across again to Portela. Marquez, once again, going off to the left. I've already almost lost my voice for this weekend. We've still got a live stream just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, between Tonga and South Africa. Rory McIlroy has much, or rather too much of a voice for my likings. He's chronic underachiever. This penalty does go the way of Portugal. They tried to take the quick tap. Only if I replay and replay again and do a proper analysis, says Charles. And also we have there great Grant and Joy. It's pumping listening to some good music with Amish commentary in the house. Agreed, chronic underachiever, says Chris there. The players tried a whole every shot, says Chris. Exactly right. We saw that one on the par 3. I think it was on about day 2 where he almost got the hole in one, but then it did end up hitting the flag. That was the only shot so far of the whole competition I've seen. Eddie Jones is surely entertaining in the press conference. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't like Eddie Jones, but they still watch his press conferences. So without even realising it, they're kind of slightly like they're getting behind Australian rugby just to a certain extent so that they can see what they're going to do. And if Eddie Jones was winning, I feel like as he wins more games, the amount of people watching his press conferences go just a little bit further down. Ryder Cup is like a bike ride. Says Gert. I'm confused. Is that a good or a bad thing? Because like a bike ride can be pretty nice sometimes. Nice flick pass out the back, Storti. Although it does definitely hurt your ass after a while. So maybe that's what you're referring to. Now Marquez going off to the left-hand side again. Nicolas Martins. This is a good chance. Nice inside ball off to Storti. Tackled by Dave Parecki. Sling and pass. Salah the dummy here from the young number 13, Battencourt. Chronic next to nothing. Ryder Cup. I know I read that one. And also we get there for Portugal. Says Jose. Now Marquez round the side of the breakdown here. Moving up to the 22. Australia finding themselves defending early. Ball's popped out the back to Marquez. Once again, another offload coming. Like a bit of a miscommunication there for Portugal. You can see that they're trying to get in the breakdown here. Dave Parecki causing a disruption. trying to slow it down. Now to the right-hand side, inside ball again for the Portuguese. They're well set in the middle of the field after 9 phases. Marquez going back across here. Another good low tackle made by Pedro. Or run made. Oh, inside ball. Offloaded again for the Portuguese. Little bit of a slip there from Martins. Tried to find the offload, decides against it just for now. Now 10 metres out. Marquez back across again. The captain, Appleton. Skip pass out to Guedes. This is good defence so far from the Wallabies. Not allowing them to bust through as of yet. And also, we'll get their 3 points. Says Grant there. It looks like there's a Wallabies player down and back play. So they are currently effectively playing with 14. Marquez going for the kick behind. Marika Koromberi trying to chase after it. He has got that one. And now he slips dead. Did he take it dead? I think it's a 5 metre scrum. It is. 5 metre scrum for the Portuguese. The Portuguese are hunting a wounded animal. Says Robert, morning, Hamish. How you doing? Here in Dursley, cool, but rainy, says Birdie V. I'm doing not too bad. I think it's supposed to be quite windy here today. Oh, I'm not wrong, but Marika Koromberi had to clean that ball up inside of his 22. In fact, inside almost of his in-goal area. But Portugal putting together quite a few phases back to back to back, putting the Australians under pressure, similar to what they did in the early stages of their game up against the Welsh. Simply because of those press conferences, mate, you guys know nothing about rugby. He is as subtle as sandpaper. The toilet paper, YouTube, as World Cup had brilliant. Says Lightbringer, and also we've got their Portuguese man O'War. Says Haka, and things are okay, says Penny Lane. And also Nina is Leka in there as well. I think I missed quite a few messages. Any South Africans here proud of Musk? Says cool story, bro. Now, leave Portugal. They have got the option of the 5 metre scrum here. Now, only just being out from the Aussie line. Looks like it is actually Nick Frost who has picked up this injury, which is the last thing that they want there, seeing as he has won the most lineouts throughout this Rugby World Cup competition, and he is actually tied with the most lineout steals. But I actually think that might have actually been Tom Hooper rather than Nick Frost there. No, it is Nick Frost. I should have stuck with my instinct. As soon as I decided that it wasn't, that's when I made the mistake. It looks like he wants to continue, though. He's running over to the scrum, testing out the knees. A great play from Portugal, slinging the ball, and Lincoln good between the backs and the forwards. And greetings from Berlin, go the Aussies, says Stuart Moore. And guys, this is game 149 for me, says Ian Foster. See, I couldn't even tell you what number game it is for ourselves that we have covered on the channel this year. Because we've also done a bit of cricket in the Rugby Sevens alongside that, so I don't know whether to count Rugby Sevens like the whole competition as one, or whether each live stream we've done as one, because we have done probably quite a few matches in the Rugby Sevens side of things. Aussie injury, the game goes on. Wait and see when Portugal is injured. Call the state president and military to stop the game. Says Charles, although they did stop the game after the phase play, because it's up to the medics for Australia to either signal to the referee that it's a serious injury so that they can stop, or if they feel that it isn't severe, then that is when they will continue playing. So it's actually up to the team medics to make that decision. And then the referee has to decide whether or not it is correct. But now 5 metres out, it is going to be a very strong Portuguese scrum. And they managed to get themselves the penalty advantage. Numbers on the outside here for Portugal. Slinging pass out to Callaway now, who has to make the tackle. Appleton, the captain, gets within 2 metres. But Australia under immense pressure here from the Portuguese, who are looking to fire themselves over the try line. Marquez driven backwards by Isaiah Parisi, a ball of muscle at 13 for the Wallabies. Not a portable, but a porter, says Charles. And he's a good player, but nothing compared to Appleton. Says Ian Foster now around the side of the breakdown. Another carry for David Wallace. Playing advantage still for the Portuguese. Appleton, great cutout pass. One more, and that will be the try for Portugal. They strike first in this game up against the Australians. And it is going to be Pedro Betancourt who does score the opening try of the fixture. Come on, Aussie, shake off the bad juju and do what we know you do, says David Vickers. Let's go Portugal, says Nazi Williams. And also we have got then, of course, the Sissy Portal will screen Blue Murder when a player skins a knee. Says Charles, I think the Wallabies should be more worried about just scoring tries, Charles. rather than worrying about complaining about the injuries. But Marquez gets that pass around the side after the penalty advantage, and it was a great sling and pass from Appleton. Went straight into the hands of his outside centre. Good day all. Had to mow the lawn, now my time. Says Occurred and well deserved, says Randre. And look at these future Portuguese rugby kids. It is a pink, round pink sweet. We love it, says Desmond. And no way, great, says, was there. Cool story, bro. And look at the Wallabies fans leaving already, says Ian Foster. And also Lindo Carajol says, Rep, yeah, Portugal scoring the opening try of the game after 13 minutes. I told you Appleton is the business, says Ian Foster, and the kick is looking pretty decent from the touchline. It's gone over now, 7 points to 3, the score in favour of Portugal. When a minnow scores a classic try like that against Australia, you know, things are bad. Says, but that's the thing though, I feel like people are still underestimating this Portuguese side. They're only considered minnows, I believe, because they haven't played enough of top opposition. But I think if you put them in any competition apart from the Tier 1 competitions around the world, so minus the Six Nations, minus the Rugby Championship, I think they go very well. In the Pacific Nations Cup, I think they'd challenge quite a few of the teams, and we're going to see that next week with Fiji versus Portugal. Will this be another upset, says Occur? It would be the biggest upset of the Rugby World Cup up to date in terms of the betting odds, but could be on the case, or could be on the cards. And let's go, Portugal, says Cited. And also, what nonsense is this? Come on, Australia, says Jay. And also, we have good there. What is wrong with the Aussie? Some mental curse. I think, unfortunately for them, the team environment currently for the Wallabies is almost at an all-time low. And I don't know whether that's down to the way that they're playing. I don't know whether that's down to the coaching. I can't see Portugal scoring like that against Abies Island or South Africa, says Albert. You know, we weren't really talking about their games up against those sides, were we? We're saying about the Tier 2 sides around the world. Like Portugal, I believe, will climb the rankings drastically before the next Rugby World Cup. The biggest upset in history? Not quite, no. There's been bigger ones than this one, but it will certainly help the Portuguese confidence. And Ian Foster probably, beating South Africa. Says David Vickers, and when I stop drinking, I can start to see visions of Portugal scoring against Australia, says Esbok, and Europe's on fire today, says Eric J. And Portugal is a beautiful country, says Penny Lane. The underdogs can always shock the rugby world. Could happen today, says Desmond. Kike's gone into touch. The Australians now, they have conceded that lineup. We need to stop accepting RFU judgments of which team, as in which tier, says Gus. And you mentioned the betting odds and the upset factor. Do you really think these are fair games? So what you're saying, Charles, is every game, it's all rigged. It's all predetermined, isn't it? Get the porter, it's good food, says Gert. I mean, if it's all rigged, Charles, you should be able to make a lot of money off the betting side of things if we know who should be winning for a day. So it looks like we've got a bit of a TMO review here. Oh, yeah, might be a bit high from the try scorer, Pedro Betancourt. Is this? Yep, shoulder to the head. That's a yellow card for the Portuguese. What match number is this in the Rugby World Cup, says Patrick Brady. I believe that this game is match 30 or 31 it might be actually. Match 31 in this Rugby World Cup. I think the structures are so much weaker since the Southern Hemisphere have lost South Africa to the URC, says Ockert. And Hamish, what's for breakfast, mate, says Birdie V. I haven't actually determined that yet. Probably a banana. That's about all we'll have. Betancourt, you silly man, says Ian Foster. And I also suspect they are, but I don't gamble, says Charles. Right, okay. I voted Australia to win, but I hope I'm wrong, says Bruce. Although now, at this point, the try scorer, Pedro Betancourt, will be making his way from the field. His card is under review, and that is a chance that the Australians needed to try and get back into this contest. If only we could call the game now. How funny is Australia, says Grant. These Australian players don't fight for the jersey anymore. Shameful, says the Knight. But I think Sonny Bill Williams summarised it pretty well. Why fight for a jersey when you know that your coach isn't fighting for his? He's leaving if he gets the opportunity to. Eddie Jones jumping ship. So why should a player go out there, put it all on a line for a leader who's about to ditch them and go play or go coach someone else? And check out the money man from SA. His comments on the integrity of Eddie Jones, says Jeffrey. Now, Ben Donaldson, they will be lining up another 3 points here, Australia. This is an interesting choice, seeing as they've hardly had any attack throughout the first 15 minutes of this contest, and now they have got a man advantage. With Portugal all the way, I just love the food. I'll never eat kangaroo. I've never eaten kangaroo, says Jeremy Rogers. Looks like Australia will need to qualify for the next World Cup. Since they are hosting, they do not need to, though. I actually made the mistake last week. I said that they will have to go through the qualification, but yeah, because they're hosting, it means that they don't actually have to. Miss Kick says Mornay. And banana is not breakfast, says Krampus. It is when you haven't got a lot of time to be able to eat much else, but that is going to be missing away from Donaldson. They're taking Portugal seriously, says Ian Foster. And like I said, it's all about those 30 pieces of silver, says Charles. They're the host, automatic qualification. I didn't think it could get any worse for Australia, but, says Trajan there, they're not just playing for the coach, but the fans, says Toby. Yeah, although in some regards, a lot of the Australian fans have already turned against them, unfortunately. So for these players, they're in what will be considered one of the toughest periods of rugby in Australian history, because this is the first time ever they haven't made it to the quarterfinal of a Rugby World Cup. There's going to be a lot of criticism going towards these players. That's something that they're going to have to ride with for the rest of their careers now. Eddie, I can spell them from here. Says Ian Foster. I feel for the Aussie fans, says George. And also we have got their kangaroo is horrible to eat, says David Richards. I see officials are trying to make rugby into football, really a yellow card drivel, says Colin. Although they have got, throughout this World Cup, at least we've had some consistency with head contact equals yellow card. Because in a lot of the challenges that we've seen recently, that has been the case. Yes, some of them are a little bit lighter than others, but as soon as the head hits the shoulder, that's normally straight when they go to a yellow. Now, Guedes inside of his own 22 now for Portugal. They're going to clear this one into touch. That's carried back, though, by Portugal. So one of their first real mistakes, aside from their yellow card. And Sonny has also never fought for the jersey too. Should keep quiet, says chronic underachiever. And also, why would they play for the Eddie Jones? He's a wanker, says Yvuk. And also slow the game down until Badencourt comes back and Jones made a mistake making enemies with World Rugby. And I'll say it is mathematics, says Oriol in there as well. Meters made so far from Portugal, though. 206, more than double what we've seen from the Wallabies. Although now, Dave Parecki going to be charging at the line just outside of the 5 metre line. Rob Ballatini pop pass up to Richie Arnold. And Australia score their first try of the match with the man advantage, making the most of it, and just a very clinical set piece from the Wallabies gets them over the try line for the first time today. Is there a mathematical problem, possibility for Australia to go through? There is if they win this game with a bonus point. So they would need to score 4 or more tries, and they have now got themselves their first of the contest that they need. Wallaby Rugby is struggling to compete with those big guns in Oz, says Blues Nate, and they'll learn, says Gus, and this is probably worst World Cup for Australia. They are behind from Portugal also, says Coding, and that was well done, says Gus. Yeah, good driving run from, first of all, it was Angus Bell, in fact, breaking off the back. And then alongside that, Rob Ballatini finding that offload from lying on the turf to Richie Arnold, who actually I thought was one of the standout players for the Australians in their last game up against Wales. Out of every player on the field, he just seemed like he was still trying. And that was a rarity in their last match. Well worked try, says Ockert. We have got there Rob Ballatini, robbed them in the middle of the night, says Ian Foster. I've got the ads pretty limited for rugby to allow no high tackles, no head contact. Makes sense. But why not allow shoulder hits? Says the New Age. I think it's because of all the lawsuits that rugby has had to deal with in the last little while due to players with concussion issues or down the line further having issues due to head knocks. And that's why Dupont is going to be such an interesting scenario, because the medics for France will have to clear him. World Rugby will have to say it's okay for you to play even though your face is broken, and they'll have to try and make it somehow that if there is any serious injury to Dupont, because he could lose feeling in half his face for life if he ends up getting hit in the right place. We Googled it on their last live stream. If that happens, World Rugby have to find a way of not being accountable for that, or else it would be a massive, massive lawsuit that they'd have to deal with. Aussies are soft, says Vuk. And as we have got there, did the Aussie score now? They did indeed. It was Richie who managed to score the try. And also, I should mention alongside that, the yellow card will remain as a yellow card. Come on, Australia, get those bonus points. Any hope of going through? There are some Wallaby supporters here now that's loyal, says Trajan. And also, Portugal made history today, says Thiago. If Dupont plays, player safety is an absolute nonsense, says Crumpus. Yeah, so World Rugby have to choose a very wise way of approaching that. And I mean, to be honest, if it wasn't Dupont, every day of the week they'd say you can't play. Because you won't be able to have a strong enough face mask to hold your face together. That also is within the regulations of playing the game of rugby. But because it's Dupont, there's really a big argument taking place that almost doesn't need to take place, if that makes sense. Because, like I said, if it was any other player, they'd go, nah, you're not playing. But because it's Dupont, and because he's the golden boy, he's the X factor for France, they're trying to work out what's the best way of us slightly, getting him back in there. He's been taking part in non-contact training lately as well. Did you know the NFL leads the concussion count versus any other sports code? Says Sean Lees, that doesn't surprise me, although also, in terms of contact sports, what are their numbers compared to rugby? Like, how many people play NFL or American football in the US compared to other competitions, out of curiosity? But then that's also because they just throw each other everywhere, don't they? I look at how much work the NFL in USA is doing to reduce lawsuit exposure, says Gus, and Hamish can win this game alone with his mustache, says Ruth. And speaking of mustaches, Nick White, man who isn't starting in this game, but the Wallabies now 10 metres out from the line again, going for another rolling maul chance after putting the Portuguese under pressure. Now only 5 metres out, this is looking very good again for the Wallabies. They start to roll, they've got the advantage. Pareki breaks off, scores the try, and that is now the second one for the Australians. So it just shows that all they needed was that little bit of an advantage. And now we're starting to see that clinical Wallabies side that has been lacking for quite some time. A few years back, the Box also struggled until we got rid of the coach. And I remember when Australia just had 3 teams in Super 12, they seriously gave us South African teams a hard time, says Albert. And I think to counter Angus Bell, we need to implement and cap Joel Hintz ASAP. Thoughts, says Ian Foster there. Or even just like this Wallabies side, we were talking about it earlier on as well. Like, there are so many players in that Wallabies team that just don't look like they'd make many other sides around the world. And I know that sounds harsh, but it just kind of is the way that it sits for them. So whether or not they need more academies in Australia, they've talked about Rugby Australia's long-term plan, but they started their long-term plan and then they didn't really do anything else about it. Love your commentary, says Leon. Thank you very much. Protect to the player. It's ultra important unless you want player to kill the other guy game. Says Charles, and tackle technique is awful in American football though. No cheek to cheek being taught there, says Rotating Cow. And also we have got there, we are going to win the World Cup, says LRF. For the Australians, and I know what the average rugby player's career is, longer than the NFL, says Bambo. Or sorry, says, I guess that would be Bambo, wouldn't it? Saying, as I see your picture, correct, Hamish, says George. Yep, such as Ponefar Masili, poor beef for nothing, says Ian Foster. Rotating Cow, how about Peter Carell? Using union to teach technique, says Gus. Now 10 points difference, Portugal's still down a man after 24 minutes in this contest. Leota, he has made his way onto the field. That is for Rob Valentini, who's gone off for a head injury assessment. Big boot from Ben Donaldson. Portugal decide to keep this ball alive after taking the quick throw. Now Juarez at the back, trying to step through. Nice tackle made on him, though, by Dave Parecki. Looking for that counter ruck alongside Isaiah Parisi. A lot of Waratahs players in this Wallabies side for this match. Johnny Ulysses is another one, says Ian Foster. And plenty of talents, but Carter Gordon wasn't for this sit, says Blues Nate. Now rolling it back at his Marquez. For the little boot in behind. It's going to set up, but it does bounce over the head of Appleton. Cleaned up by the Wallabies. Now Callaway gets it away to Mark Nwanganitawasi. He's got the option on the outside if he decides to use him to Lalakai Fagiti, and he has. Now go breaking line from Lalakai Fagiti, trying to link up with that next pass. Wasn't able to find it. Drives into the 22 now for the Wallabies. Loose ball picked up there by Angus Bell. Now Wallabies, they've got numbers on this left-hand side. James Slipper off to Ricciano Marica. Corambetti tries to steamroll to the try line. He is just 1 metre short. McDermott pop pass up to Isaiah Parisi. He's going to be held up. No, he just gets it short of the line. So it will be still the Aussie ball. Now to the right-hand side, flat run from Angus Bell. He gets over the try line. That is the third now for the Australians. Dupont plays again and makes a mockery of the whole Rugby World Cup. Says Krampus, as you saw right, says Thiago. It is currently, yes, 22 points to 7 in favour of the Australians. I'm enjoying this channel. Cannot wait for the next game from Verona. Got it first time this time. I made the extra conscious effort to make sure that I did get it right. Seeing as I do normally say Veronica. And we're going through, boys. Says Chronic. And also another try says LRF. And also try time, that is more like it. But yeah, nice break and run. All came from the counter-attack from the Wallabies. James Slipper off to Richie Arnold. And those big forwards working together with the backs. It's a cohesive unit. And then Bell just runs flat. And he's a very hard man to stop when he's that close to the try line. Headbutts the ground, which wouldn't be recommended. But still scores the try. There is an immense exposure in secondary and territory level American football. By the time the players in the NFL, the damage has occurred. Says Gus. That's because of the dumb way the NFL players hit with their heads. Well, of course, you're going to get head injuries. Says Duration, what happens if they do win? Do they play quarterfinals? Says Pule. So if they win this game with a bonus point, which would be if they scored one more try, then if Fiji lose to Portugal by more than 7, Australia will go through because they'll have that one extra point. But if Fiji manage to win their game up against Portugal, they are through. And if they manage to lose it by less than 7, then the Fijians will still go through because then it looks at the head-to-head. And because Fiji beat Australia, they would advance, if that makes sense. I've actually got all the rules here somewhere. There we go. So these are all of the points and whatnot that you can get. The tiebreakers, normally it's points difference first, but because this competition, they've decided to mix it up, it's actually head-to-head fixtures rather than the points difference. So pretty much that means if you're on the same points as someone else, if you beat them, you'll be the team that goes through. If you had a draw, the only time that would come into play is for Georgia and Portugal if they were making their way through, or one of them was about to. They would go to the points difference, then the tries difference, points for, tries for, and then Rugby World Ranking as the last one that comes into play. So, I mean, in terms of the rankings mattering, the only time in the World Cup that a ranking matters is when they decide where you are sitting in the pools. And 6th in the tiebreakers is the next time that ranking will come into play for you. I think you didn't look convincing last night, but well done on getting the win. Yeah, they had to fight hard in that game up against the Georgian. Portugal looked so promising within the first 10 minutes. Then they just became Portugal. How disappointing, says Gorilla Dome. Well, I don't know whether or not it was so much the case that they became Portugal. It's just more they ended up with a man disadvantage. Now taking the quick dab, Marquez. Now going off to the right-hand side, or in fact, sorry, left. Slinging past from Guedes. Still another opportunity for the Portuguese to be able to counter-attack, although great work. Oh, I thought it was a turnover from Tom Hooper in the breakdown. In fact, it was Fraser McRae. Now Marquez again, going across here to Mike Tejia. Marquez. Like Australia's defence at times throughout this game has been solid. It's just whether or not they can get that last pass through for the Portuguese that would lead them to being over the try line territory. Currently 54% in favour of Portugal. Tom Hooper, big shot coming in on Bello. A lazy tackle, yellow, and poor clear for the fullback. So Australia romp, says Gorilla Dome. And also just watch Appleton if you need to learn how to tackle. He's the best in the world, says Ian Foster. And what did you think of the Georgia versus Fiji game? Pretty scrappy first half from the Fijians. Georgia, they were pushing the pace, but then unfortunately the trend of Georgia just not being able to score enough tries it did continue. And I've mentioned it all throughout this Rugby World Cup. They haven't been able to score as many tries as they need to be able to walk away with victories. We actually saw that in the game against Portugal as well. Please put the names of the try scorers on screen, bro. We have there FC Bayern number Einstein. FC Bayern number Einstein. Right, well, I haven't understood that last bit. I can put the names on the screen if that helps down the bottom, but I'm not sure about the Einstein part. All right, we'll go like this. I better put Australia because some people don't know who the Wallabies are. Right, we go like this. So we saw Richie Arnold. He scored one. Luckily, there's an injury for James Slipper. Only lucky so that it gives me a bit of time to be able to type these out. And we also saw the try from Angus Bell. And we also saw the try, I think it was Dave Parecki, wasn't it? We'll put that anyway. We can give him credit for one. Dave Parecki and Bell. And we'll go Portugal try scorers to keep the man happy. And it was Betancourt who scored it. There we go. Hopefully that helps. There's no I in team. That's a problem. I lose a man and lose the game, says Charles. Great commentary. Nice first game today. Come on, Australia, says Marlowe. And also, what number is Appleton, Kiwi lads? For Eric J, he is number 12 in this match for the Portuguese. Wait, are you not watching the game, Ian? I thought you were saying about his tackling and whatnot earlier on and like his passing, but yeah. A great commentary. Oh no, I read that one from Mario. And also we have got there is a me in team. Says, was there from Krampus? And what was the reason Hooper and Cooper were dropped? I missed that one. They went with the younger side. So I think that's why they left out Cooper. Michael Hooper, I'm not really sure why. He got himself a Stan Sport commentary deal, so he will be probably happy in that regard. But yeah, he won't be happy with what the Australians have been doing without him. But maybe he got out at just the right time. Nope, I definitely knew his number. Wanted Eric to know Appleton's number. So why don't you tell Eric, Ian Foster? And here says Blues Nate, big scrum from the Australians. Does pop out the back for them. Tate McDermott going across now to Lalakai Faketi. Off to Isaiah Parisi. Breaks through. He's got Faketi with him. Trying to find that support run. Not able to do so. But Parisi thinks he's going all the way. Only 3 metres out from the try line now. No hands is the call from the referee. Fraser McWright has to go with the pick and go to try and keep that on the side of the Wallabies. I tried to get Appleton to play at the Hurricanes for New Zealand eligibility instead of Geordie Barrett. Says Ian Foster. If Portugal gets a world-class coach, they will go some way. And Oz playing a Portugal. Says, it was there from Matt. And shout out, please, says Monrico. Shout out to you. 2 metres out from the line now for the Australians as they look to secure that bonus point within the first half of this game. Now Parisi. Faketi. Big shot coming in on him. And Portugal, that was almost their penalty. I think very unlucky to miss out there. McDermott, piercing run round the side of the breakdown, which is what he's known for in the Wanganitawasi. Still advantage in favour of the Australians. Angus Bell now, dropping his head. Another advantage, this time for not rolling away. McDermott, no, it was a weird scenario. I think he just dropped that ball again, so they will go back for the original penalty. We have got there, can't get past Appleton, says Ian Foster, and also yes, says Adil. And also we have got there, read the chat. George, where's George? Who's George? Is there a George in the chat? Or am I George? And now it's going to be a penalty and kicked into touch there. Look for 12, Ian. Says Eric J. And Boca going to have to be on their best behaviour tonight. Boom, says Ruth. Should have got that penalty. Australia out onto the ball, says Ocker. I thought it was close to the turnover. The, I guess, slight benefit of it is the fact that Australia already had the penalty advantage. So it didn't change in terms of whether Portugal would have ended up with the ball because they would have just gone back to where they did here. Blood reversal. Valentini back out there on the field now. And also Bambo, the point is would have, could have, should have. Creel getting a card, but he didn't. It's in the past, says George. And that will now be the penalty for Portugal. I believe it was from closing the gap against the Australians. And Super Rugby Australia better have about half of the Portuguese backs by first of the year, says Gus. Is Cooper overhyped? Says Chronic, well, we'll never quite know in this World Cup because he didn't get selected. But I can tell you right now that he probably would have done a lot better than Carter Gordon, even though Quade Cooper, some would say he wasn't in the best form heading into this World Cup. I still feel like with that experienced head that he has, he would have done a pretty decent job. They took the gamble with the youngster Carter Gordon. It almost worked, but then at the same time, it really didn't. I just woke up. Oh, well, what a speed of the game so far, says Mori. And time on the clock, Says Billy, at the moment we are sitting 33 minutes through this game. And stolen, or nicely taken, in fact, by Portugal. It looked like Australia should have had that line out, but Portugal just waited a little bit longer to get it to the man at the back. Now, nice rolling Montegia has got it at the back for Portugal. They still are marching for Marquez. Now looks to go to the short side, manages to find the offload away close to a 4-pass off the Sturti. Tackled by Fraser McWright twice. He managed to get back up to his feet. He had to keep on putting him down. Portugal knocking the ball backwards. Now cross kick attempted here. Don't think the Australians would have been anticipating it, but Callaway covers well. And the sun is not even up yet. Says Matthias. And also we have got there, pretty sure, where'd that go? Pretty sure it was the lifters in front of the catcher while forming the maul. Says rotating Cal. That will be what it was for then, rather than closing the gap. And also we have got there number 1 Bok, or Bok number 1. Says Adil. And I mean bonus points says Casey, and also Einstein played scrum half at school. Fun fact. Did he? That is a very fun fact. I would not have guessed him as a rugby player, to be honest. I mean bonus points says Casey, and poor World Cup team selection by Australia says Vuyo. Yeah, they went for the risk. They've got the youngest side across this whole Rugby World Cup. And I guess it just shows that sometimes experience does pay. But then that's the thing, other than Craig Cooper, Foley, and Michael Hooper, who else would they have gone with in that Wallaby side, I wonder? Now, De Gea goes back to Diego Ferreira, who managed to offload it away, but Australia have managed to get the ball in the breakdown. Tries Festa Night for the box. How are you doing, Amish? You're doing pretty well, I'd say overall. We're slowly catching up on sleep that we missed out on during the weekend. Although saying that, I don't think I'll be sleeping at a normal time tonight either. Now, attack and run from Geronimo Portela. Tackled by Tom Hooper, who starts to drive his legs, tries to get him moving backwards. Now Marquez going with the chip in behind here. I think Portugal asking for a penalty, but they will not receive it. Instead, though, the man who did ask for it almost managed to get over the ball and get the turnover, but the Wallabies still in possession. 4 minutes 30 remaining. Wallabies need Amanasa Mateili, says Ian Foster. And also we have got there no bookies tonight, only Bok. Go to the Bok, says Joe. And we are going to be covering that game on the channel as well, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new to that channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now Portugal get it off away to Rodrigo. Now that's a brilliant step on. In fact, it's going to be a pass on the outside for the corner. Oh, his leg might have gone into touch with Nicolas Martins. They're going to have to check there, but Rodrigo Marta, it was his original pass that got it away. Get him, says Ian Foster. Right, they're going to check this. I feel like the way that he was sliding over the line there for Nicolas Martins, his legs may have just brushed the touchline before he got over the try line here. They are just going to check the grounding. Unforgivable. They had a 4-on-1 there. Says rotating cow. The feet across the line. Callaway was charging as quickly as he could. And that knee touches the turf. That will be no try. Brilliant cover defence from Andrew Callaway, who has just saved a certain try. And good last-ditch tackle, says Gus. Yeah, very good tackle. And almost 36,000 subscribers. Come on, folks. Thanks a billion in advance, says Grant. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are only, I can tell you the exact number away from 36,000. Scoreboard sleeping, says Joe. Yeah, although I wasn't updating that one until it was confirmed as a Portuguese try. We are currently 75 away from 36,000. So do it if you do want to help us get there. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. 2027 is going to be a disaster. We shouldn't have NRL until 2027 to fix this mess, says Chronic. And also good tackle, Cav Callaway, says Eric J. Line out thrown in by the Australians. It's going to be 5 metres out from their own try line. So another 3.5 minutes remaining. So I think Australia need to be strategic here. Make sure that they're getting this ball in. And also we get the Hamish when you're doing your Raid Shadow Legends advert. Says Gareth, I don't think we've got any of those coming anytime. So we haven't really got any sponsors on the channel, to be honest. It's just us and you guys. Now, to the right-hand side, or to the left, in fact, is Rob Bellatini. Rolling this ball back. Take McDermott. And also we have got there, they're singing and disco dancing. Says Ruth. And that ball has gone into touch. Now 22 metres out from the Australian try line. Portugal with their counter-attacking chance. Portugal need a try before half to have a chance here, says Jonathan Manson. Yeah, if they can get themselves one try soon. Remember when it was 12k? Still rocking a Kiwi lad, says Blues Nate. And yeah, we've been, I'd say, very busy in terms of the amount of streams that we've had over the last 3 or 4 years. Well, 3 years and a bit, I'd say. I think it was around July in 2020 when we started doing the videos, and since then we've consistently had at least one video and one stream a week when we got fired up when we started doing our first live streams. In fact, most weekends we've had at least 5. So yeah, it's been quite the journey overall. And Kiwi Lads proudly sponsored by the Springboks, says Lightbringer. Now it's going to be kicked downfield. This is some bollocks, says Ian Foster. You're talking about the game or me talking? I've watched more games than you this year, Blues Days. I wouldn't guarantee that, Ian Foster, because we've probably done more than 150 games, and Nate has been here for a majority of them. So you might be wrong in your stats there. Now, going off to the right-hand side, Donaldson, across there to Angus Bell. And Irish Smooth Commentary says, Roof, if Pollard gets injured tonight, no way South Africa is winning the World Cup without a kicker. Are you working tomorrow, says Casey? I believe so. Or later today I will be working. I think I'm working afternoon though. So probably from about 12 to 5, I think is the plan. Now, good low tackle made on Ben Donaldson. Off to Tate McDermott. Nawanganitawasi trying to go through. But yeah, after that Springboks game, we were doing our post-match review. And then we might sneak like an hour an hour of sleep. Nope, I'm right, says Ian Foster. I don't know if you are. At least you have Ian Foster, says Blues Nate. That was very humble of you, Nate. And also Mark Nawanganitawasi is good, but he's slow. Man looked like a snail versus Wales last week. And no yellow card, says AMX. Yeah, at the moment, no yellow cards in play, but there was one earlier on from Betancourt. And also we have got the Chronic. We can only hope Pollard gets through this game without any injuries, says George. And yeah, in general for the Springboks, of course, no injuries out of this game would be ideal for them. We are covering that one just around the corner as well, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are starting that live stream in 1 hour and 30 minutes time. We will be doing an hour of build-up, looking through all the results that we've seen so far, because we've got to remember as well that it's the last game for the Springboks before the quarterfinals. They will be taking part in, or maybe taking part in, depending on how their result goes. Now, Dave Pericki. We have got there, do you agree with the card I just came, says G. Jones. I think that it had to be one, mainly because every other time throughout this Rugby World Cup, head contact has led to yellow cards. So he was a bit unlucky, but he also did try and tackle too high. Pollard's not the answer to a kicker. He was wayward in the Rugby Championship before his injury. He's been wayward before, says Gareth. And we actually mentioned about it, I think it was on the Rugby Recap. I said, what happens if Pollard misses his first 3 kicks in that game up against Tonga? Do people then go, Pollard's not our kicker? Who else have we got? Give it back to Faf de Klerk, who's also been missing. Give it back to Damien Valimza, who's also been missing. So it's going to be interesting. I like to think that Pollard's had a lot of time, though, to be able to work on that goal kicking, or at least work out his technique for that goal kicking so that it is accurate, because he would have known when getting called back in, that is the reason he's in there. Try and get those threes. Wallabies should have taken a 3, says Jonathan, and also Cristiano Ronaldo at 10. Problem solved, says RJJ. I should mention that the last play of the half did just take place. There was a knock-on the ground, so it does go to half-time. And probably turn chat off during the South African game, apart from the regulars, the other South Africans that join it at twits, says Peter. And also, Pollard won't miss. Trust me. Well, I think that's me rather than Mr. And good point, Amish, says George. And also, would you sign Sean Johnson like we did Roger Tuivasa-Sheck as a 10 for the All Blacks? He's 33. No. I feel like they've got to look at the future, and I don't think Scott Robinson would look at that as even a viable option. I think that instead he'd go, right, we need someone younger. Look at someone like Stephen Petafeta from the Bunnings. He'd be still playing very well. look at maybe, who else could you go with? Ruben Love, another young player taking part in the competition. Fergus Burke, Brett Cameron, one of those guys might be more likely to get that call up. What a run, Koroberi, says Mori, and also we have got the Yep Hamish. That is a thing with South Africans. You'll never please them. Says Ockert and bring back Stain, both of them. Out of retirement for the kick, says Cabbage Patch. And if the Box take 3 in the start, I hope Tonga wins, says Grant. And Australia can only score tries against 14 men, says Mono Lagrange. Although their last try that they scored, I think, was against 15, wasn't it? Or was that just before? No, it might have actually been while they were up against the 14. We will get some stats, though, from this first half. There we go. We have got their Get Money's kicking coach from the Stormers over. You don't finish the top scorer in the URC 2 years in a row. If you can't kick, there's a technical issue that can be fixed quick. Says Gareth, and only kicks the box needed for the lineouts. Just score tries, problem solved. Says Lightbringer, breaking news. Jacob, I don't know who that is, Deep Sport, to be honest. Do you think Fluff de Klerk is overrated, says G Jones? I feel like he's an important factor in the Springboks side when it comes to having a cool head, if that makes sense. Like, he's got that experience under his belt. Kobus Ranach seems to be maybe that next choice for them, and then they're looking at Grant Williams. But Jaden Hendricks, I think, has gone down the pecking order since he wasn't in the side during that Rugby Championship, and I think that's probably hurt his chances playing in a lot of minutes throughout the playoff games. Hey all, tuning in from France here, says Brian, so welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing extremely well, and shouting for Portugal. Says Brian, no rubber the green for Portugal, everything going Aussie way. Says Colin, there was talk about the Stormers coach stating that the kicking tee is his bother, says Ockert. Is Pollard ready for the Tongan physicality, though? Forget about the kicking. He still needs to tackle, ruck, maul, and run and support, distribute the ball, etc., etc., says Sean Lees. And that's a big question for Andre Pollard. How long are they going to give him in this game? And also, how much time do you need to give him in this game to have confidence in him going into those quarterfinals? We've got to remember, more than likely, South Africa versus France is the matchup that seems to be like it's going to be taken up or taking place. What's up with the negativity towards Pollard? South Africa will win big tonight, says Lionel. It's not so much the negativity. I think it's like there's still some South African supporters who are slightly, I guess doubtful of how quickly Pollard's going to be able to come back in and play his best rugby, because when Pollard's firing, everyone knows how strong he can be. But the thing is, he's played only 30 minutes of rugby this year, and during that 30 minutes for the Leicester Tigers, he got yellow carded. So that's also a little bit of that concern, if that makes sense. You are a legend, says Gert. Thank you very much, mate. Go Bok. And also we have got there a line on negativity. I just don't think he's our best fly half at the moment, and our game has moved on from that style he suits, says Gareth. And why does it always feel the whole world is against the Springboks, says Marthinus? I think that's the thing. Normally, it's that mentality of to be the best, you got to beat the best. And a lot of people, even though the world rankings at this stage do say otherwise, Springboks are still the defending champions. So everyone wants to get to that mountain that the Springboks have been able to climb. So that is why everyone looks up at them and goes, we want to be there. Centre pairing of the box tonight is the best we have, says Colin Sparks. If Marnie starts his run for his kick, just half a foot to his left, he'll be good. He hooks them to the left mostly, says Lightbringer. And also, why did Australia get rid of Dave Rennie, says Stone Cold? Well, they were in a tricky scenario with Rennie. Because, like, that's the thing. Even Rennie overall, like, don't get me wrong, he had a terrible percentage winning record. But it seemed like the team overall were happier when he was there. And I guess, like they always say, like, being happy doesn't win rugby matches, but it's at least a good start to make the players at least want to play. Whereas under Eddie Jones at the moment, it seems like there's a lot of players who just don't want to be there. I understand in South Africa you have two groups, Stormers pro Lebok, and the rest that's pro Pollard, says Albert. Although Lebok, I think a lot of people have been admitting, has got the better running game. And that is something that the Springboks may look to use throughout their Rugby World Cup. Because that's the thing. Springboks, throughout 2023, they scored on average the most tries per game. And also, I believe that was throughout the 2022 season. Alongside that now, Pollard's been injured for quite some time, as you know. So the fact that they've been able to score more tries since Marnie Libok has taken on that 10 jersey, if they go back to Pollard, does that take away some of that try-scoring ability, or will Pollard be able to adapt to this new style that the Springboks are playing that will then allow them to still be able to score just as many tries? Y'all giving Pollard too much pressure, says Bruce. yeah, I feel like everyone is heavily relying on that man to come back, kick 100% and win the World Cup for the Springboks. Shark supporter on Pro Lebok says, Garrett, but I should mention about some stats in this first half. We did see total of 272 metres run by the Australians, 258 metres run by the Portuguese, more defended speed by Portugal throughout this game. They did miss the 7 tackles though, so 77% tackle completion compared to the Wallabies, who did miss 11 with an 81% tackle completion throughout this contest. That maths doesn't make sense actually, because they both made 75 tackles, so that's slightly wrong, I believe. See, are you starting fighting me now? Says Crumpus. And also, most in the world, I can't stand it that we when we succeed. Says it was deep sport and Libok is in the bomb squad, so maybe this could be the smartest move by Rassi, says Sean. And I think the other big question, of course we will talk about this during the build-up of that contest that we are doing, that does start in an hour and 20 minutes time, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone who is keen to watch that. But I think the other big question mark is whether or not when Libok makes his way onto the field, does Pollard transition to 12? And see whether or not that combo can work for the Springboks, or do they stick with what they know, having Pollard at 10, Libok also coming on at 10 for that second half, or maybe about the last 20 minutes. So there was a time when Pollard was regarded as the most creative fly half before he was chipped, says Oriol. And no suit today, bro, says D-Sport. It will be on later on today, but I did decide to wear the France Rugby World Cup hoodie for this one, although, plot twist, it's the Rugby League World Cup. Do you think the way players are now taught to tackle upright is what is helping to destroy the game? Let's face it, a red card destroys normally any game. Says Matthew, there's a lot more head contact now than there ever has been. And the question is whether or not that's because they've got more cameras and they're looking for it more now rather than what they used to have. But yeah, it just seems to be that in most cases, as soon as two players collide and both of them are standing up, it's going to be a card of some sort. Valimza, Colby and Fuff should be the answer to kicking. Problem solved. Says Esbok, well, Valimza in that game up against Romania missed a couple kicks, didn't he? Fuff de Klerk, he missed a couple kicks in that game up against the Irish. He actually had 0 from 2. And if you put those points together that he missed of the 6 in total, changes the scoreline. But he did end up missing his 2 in that contest. What are your thoughts on Portugal so far? I think they've been relatively strong. They've had more defenders beaten, more running meters almost than the Wallabies. And by more running meters almost, I mean not more. But throughout their first 20 minutes, they did have more for themselves. A nice try being scored. But yeah, it just seems like that pace that the Wallabies are now starting to play has been hurting the Portuguese defence. I just realised it says Portugal rather than Portugal. I'm surprised no one noticed that, but I shall change it so that, there we go, that's better. And also France and Portugal are friends. Says AMX, and how's it, Hamish? Ready for the Box versus Tonga? I feel there will be more hat-tricks from South Africa tonight. Says Vuzumuzi. And yeah, it's going to be a very entertaining game, that is for sure. Tonga's going to bring that physicality. The Springboks going to bring that flair. And no matter what happens, I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair between the two teams. That rhymed. And Lebok 10 and Pollard 12, but Pollard will keep kicking if he is on point, I think, says Sean Lees. And going to be a hard quarterfinal without England knocking out France for us, says Cool Story Bro. And Box will build a lead that brings Marnie on to do the kicks no matter, to help build his confidence, to fix it. He needs the pressure, he can do it. Show us the money, says Lightbringer. And another Box running game started with Damien Valimza. And Abar explained why the Box didn't run or try running rugby game before the end of 2022, says Albert. Although Damien Valimza partners very well with Marnie Libok, the chemistry from the Stormers that those two bring together, and they do seem to both play a pivotal role in the way that the Springboks attack. How many assists has Marnie Libok had over the last little while? That cross kick to Kurtley Arinsa in that first game up against Scotland. I think he almost led try assists throughout the Rugby Championship as well, Marnie Libok. So certainly doing some things right at the moment. And Box Tonga match, I will see quite a few headshot reviews. Says Sean Lees and Bollard will boost the score tonight. And also I would like to see Springboks and France in the final, says Marthinus. And also I miss Just van der Vesterhuizen. Says Isbok, your take on tonight's Bok game against Tonga, says Gert. I see this as a game that they definitely need That's the thing, the Springboks, there's a few players who are fighting for their spot, but there's also a few players who are fighting to find their form. The likes of Etzebeth, Khaleesi, Dwayne Vermeulen and Jasper Wiese, those two are fighting for that number 8 jersey. In the playoff games, the other will be coming off the bench. I think Australia will give South Africa a good run for their money. Says Ian Foster. And it did start with Limsa after Pollard got injured and made way. We've taken a step forward. Pollard will make us take 2 steps back, says Gareth. New Zealand will be in the final, says Ian Foster, and England wouldn't have gotten this far with Eddie Jones at the helms, says Blues Nate. Yeah, although it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, like, Borthwick, don't get me wrong, like, he's now starting to increase his winning record because before the Rugby World Cup, it was looking a little bit shaky. But since the World Cup started, he's got those wins. And, you know, you wonder whether or not it's him that's really guiding the helm or if it's just the fact that England, maybe they're starting to just get that little bit right. Khaleesi is one of the best in the world. Says it was there from Ian Foster, although of course he would like to play a bit better than he did up against the Irish. It seemed to be the handling that was letting him down a bit, so he will be trying his best to do a lot better. You know what, Hamish, just thinking here, South Africans should listen to you. I like your take on the game and how you analyse the game, especially with South Africa. Says Kurt. It's a tricky one sometimes because I always feel like I'm not qualified to like give my opinion on the South African side, if that makes sense, seeing as, well, I'm not from South Africa, but like, as a lot of you guys know, I look at the rugby matches that we cover from a middle ground perspective, and I just feel like there are some things that could help them. Running rugby won't be Irish in the final, says Albert. That's the thing, though. There were a few opportunities for the Springboks. We've got to remember that it wasn't just the kicking that let them down in that last game. It was just their clinicalness throughout that contest up against the Irish. And I believe if they can score a couple more tries, get through that Irish defence, then that would actually be where they manage to get themselves more points. But then you hear Jersey Reds goes to the wall and you're reminded England rugby in a bad place, says Yvonne. And also very predictable coach is Borthwick. And also we'll get their final score will be 48 Australia, Portugal 10, says Julian. And also man of the match for Vermeulen and Steve-O doing great. But they're more than one at the helms. Old boy support, says Nate. Everyone is qualified to give an opinion, says Mo. Yeah, but most of the time when I give mine, I get shut down straight away. Let's agree to disagree, says Albert there. I guess that's the perfect example, isn't it? I say that maybe Marty Libok's running game's decent, and then I get told, no, shush. I hope the Boks are not getting overcooked for the knockouts. I see the same with the Irish, but crazy this World Cup will have been in reverse. And the referee for the next game is Mornay. I haven't actually looked it up as of yet, but I can find it out while these two sides are making their way out onto the field. One moment, we all go like this. Why don't the Kiwis like playing the kicking game? The ball keeps hitting their beak, says Stone Cold. So the referee is Luke Pearce for that next matchup between South Africa and Tonga. For anyone who is wondering, New Zealand Grassroots Rugby, how's it going? Is NZRU doing and spending and promoting a rugby among kids to make sure that we don't lose everyone to the other New Zealand winter sports, says Matthew. I'll be honest, rugby numbers in my local area are pretty down at the moment. They've hardly got enough to put together some teams, but I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case over the coming years with what New Zealand Rugby have said that they're going to try and do to get kids back into rugby. Fiji on track to go deep if they keep their discipline, says Inner Space Research. Going to be taken nicely by Marquez inside of the 22 as the second half does get back underway. And everyone has an opinion, and I agree, says Grant. Should they do something about shoulder first tackles? More importantly, the ball carrier. What do you think, says Brian? I think that they do need to work out. Well, the problem is the law book says as soon as it's contact to the head, it becomes pretty much an instant yellow card. And the thing is, like, it's just the players in general, like everyone seems to be trying to tackle higher these days. And I don't know whether that's just because now we have it under the microscope that we see every little contact that takes place. But it's a very tricky one, isn't it? Because you don't want to see cards affecting the game, but then you also don't want to see players getting knocked out or ending up with head trauma from so many repeated hits. Hamish, any plans to come to Southern Africa for a holiday? I would set up a commentary box for you here in Botswana. Cover some local footy if you like. Says Sean Lees. I mean, one day I'd like to go to Africa. I don't have any plans in the near future just because I don't have the budget, sadly, to be able to go. But maybe before the next World Cup would be quite cool to be able to do. We have got there, don't worry, Hamish. A lot of South Africans leave South Africa to live in New Zealand. Numbers will pick up, says Chris. And also we have got there, who likes England, says Grumpus, and Australia going to open up the ported defence in the second half, says Marlowe. Are you all European exports, says Penny Lane. They are just showing here again. Big shot from Marika Korombedi. Going in the mid-section of Guedes. Okay, they've said it was a clear wrap from Marika Korombedi. So they don't need to check that one. Are the officials from countries like Portugal, Chile? The Georgian guy is good, says Gus. I'm not sure whether or not. I don't think they've got anyone else from those slightly lower ranked sides other than Georgia that I can think of. For this World Cup, we need to sponsor you or sponsor his trip to South Africa, says Grant there. And the height of the tackle seems higher. I think it is part of the rush defence and also the attempt to prevent the offload. Just my thoughts, says Akaris. You could be right there with the fact that teams are trying to shut down the arms. And now I bet 5,000 in Portugal. I hope it's a bad advisor, says Thiago. Yeah, 5,000 on Portugal. I think you're going to lose that 5,000. Unfortunately, Appleton is the best, says Ian Foster. It's Portugal versus referees. Who will win the game? Oh, yeah, the Aussies, says Anthony. Although we had earlier on someone saying that Portugal, the reason they were going to win was because of the referees. So it's a weird one, isn't it? How it goes both ways. Or why I see so many yellow cards but no HIA. It's not about safety, just punishment, says Benty. I agree. If a player gets hit in the head, they should have to go off for that HIA. Definitely if there is a cardable offence. But that is something that they haven't been consistent with. They've been consistent with giving the cards, but not so consistent with the player safety of the guy who actually got hit in the head. That tackle needs to be checked. Says Ochert. So he pretty much, it wasn't a textbook tackle from Marika Korombedi, but you're never going to get one from him. It was more of a, he just pretty much dove at him like Superman, and because he hit him with this part while an arm was like that, he's fine. But yeah, he's got one of the, I'm going to say it, he's got one of the ugliest tackling styles in world rugby today, because he's only 1 inch away from getting himself carded every time he makes a tackle. Let's be completely honest, the only game Portugal was thinking fight for a result was Georgia, says Thiago. Everyone in Portugal knows that. And also we have Gadea, why are there so many Appleton fans in the chat today, says Ian Foster. And also what a run, says Gus. Now Angus Bell, good low tackle made on him by the Portuguese defence. Only 35 minutes remaining in this game. Ben O'Keefe, Nick Berry, Barnes are the worst referees. World Rugby rewards poor performance, says this Bock. And also probably a South African, says Benny Lane. And also game needs an international rugby academy for top flight rugby, headed by Nigel Owens for a uniformity, says Chris Swanepoel. Yeah, it's just like if every referee was consistently penalising teams for the same thing, it would make it a lot less controversial when decisions do go astray. Like people would know, okay, well that's a weird one. But now, because there's referees that consider different things, it makes it very tricky to know what they're actually going to penalise teams for. Nicely taken by Ben Donaldson under the high ball. I should mention Australia still yet to get themselves that bonus point that they require to stay in this Rugby World Cup just for now. If they do not receive that, they will be going home. Now, Rob Liotta, good tackle made on him by David Costa. Now, Marika Korombedi finds the offload away to Mick Wright, who then returns the favour. Back to Korombedi inside of the Australian half now. Australia playing better, and I have no nation, I am my own king, says Crumpers, ball carrier 2. Thanks for your thoughts, says Brian Evans. And also makes sense, Appleton is the best defensive 12 in the world. Looks like they are going to be getting a penalty there from about 45 metres out. Okay, you have to release him. You stop the quick tap, is the comment from the referee. So Marquez has cost the side 10 metres there. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes, says Trajan. And also high tackles are quick but dangerous, says Gareth. Does anyone know who this Appleton person is? Says Gareth. So he is the number 12 for Portugal, the Portuguese captain. I don't know whether or not many people are as fond of him as Ian Foster is, but yeah, he's a good player at number 12. We have got they should dream high for this World Cup, and they really should have a chance of some club, Says that's the thing. Some of these young guys for the Portuguese will get a decent chance of getting selected for whether that's in the top 14, whether that's in the Gallagher Premiership. We actually see a few of the European players playing that comp. Looks like James Slipper now making his way off the field, and that is going to be for Pone Farmasili. George likes Ikea Rats. Oh, like Ikea Rats. I've worked it out now. Sorry, I was confused. And New Zealand Trish versus France 2011. Says AMX. Appleton doesn't sound Portuguese. Says Albert. He's world class. Played for New Zealand schools and under 21s. Now going to the right hand side once more here. Richie Arnold. 15 metres from the line. McDermott goes across to Rob Valentini. Running hard and high towards the number 13 who has already received the yellow card but also got himself the try there. That was a really ugly landing for Pone Farmasili. Nice work from Noah Nganetawasi. McWright will score the try, but this could end up being another yellow card for a leg chop that we've just seen there. As the way that the player went down, it did not look too great at all. We go Fraser McWright. Pone Farmasili threw himself at the line, and I think they're going to have to check to see whether or not there was the arm wrap. Now McWright goes over to Pone Farmasili. Tajir. It's an unfortunate one. The head was down. Didn't look like any clear wrap. It looks similar to what we saw from Marika Korombeti. And Hamish, you got open an invitation in South Africa. Says Gert. And also Springboks to put up the first 100 in this World Cup. Says Albert and Portugal to go. Says Matthews there. And now Pone Farmasili. Their stocks in the propping department is already low enough for the Wallabies. They've already lost Alan Alatoa. They have also lost Taniela Tupou. Now looking like they're going to lose Pone Farmasili. And Man City lost, thank goodness. Says George. Looks like Pone Farmasili will be able to continue this match. Or is the same no matter the ref. When teams choose to skirt the line, they invite different interpretations. I feel like my mouth was going in the wrong direction there, wasn't it? And 8 tries plus 11 for a points difference, says Rudy. And I also hope Razor selects Wayne Smith as assistant. Stone cold. Now Ben Donaldson lining up another kick, just missing the one today for the Australians. Have I just jinxed him? Probably. And Donaldson, it's hit the post, come back out, and will remain at 29 points to 7. So the Australians have kept their Rugby World Cup hopes alive with that try being scored, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason that is the case is because Fiji now, they will play Portugal next week, and they need to either win or lose by less than 7 points or get themselves the losing or bonus point for getting 4 or more tries, and that will secure their spot in the Rugby World Cup quarterfinal. So it's a little bit of a similar situation to what we saw for them when they had to play Uruguay in 2019 for the Fijians. If yellow card is no match, says Romain. Although the yellow card would only last 10 minutes. So outside of that 10 minutes, Australia have now just scored themselves another try. Which player scored try first, says Stefan? So it was Arnold who managed to score the first try of the contest. Big old Richie Arnold at number 5. And we have got there was a winner for Portugal apart from him, Vasco da Gama. The man I wore wasn't one. There's gonna work, and also we have got there Rad Tail, bruh. There's cool story, bro. And also it's just me or just Ben Donaldson look like Jeremy Clarkson. He's got a bit of a Jeremy Clarkson vibe. No yellow card if. Says Roman. Wait, is someone like stolen your car and it was yellow or something? Is that what you're saying rather than the card? Maybe. Hopefully you find your car at some point. Quite like yellow cars though, to be fair. And Fiji going to thrash Portugal. Goodbye, Eddie. See you soon. Says Stan. Currently as the table sits, Australia, they would be qualifying for the quarterfinals of this Rugby World Cup. I hear you, Hamish, different refs, different styles. My question is, don't all select a Rugby World Cup for workshop to iron out all interpretations and laws for such a big tournament? It doesn't seem so, because we've already seen the inconsistencies throughout this Rugby World Cup. We've got Matt has said Noddy in there as well. And I used to watch Noddy. Did anyone used to watch that Noddy series that they had? Out of curiosity, I enjoy a bit of banter and appreciate properly put together troll line, says Gareth. And also trying all this blooming commentary. Hey, Hamish. Says Charles. Now only 2 metres out from the try line here for Portugal. Their first real attacking chance since about 10 minutes into this contest. I believe that was Diego Costa. Another knock on. In fact, offside advantage. Now Marquez slings it off to the right-hand side. Rushing up with Marika Korombeti. He misses the tackle. Now Appleton gets within 5 metres. Marquez calling for his big forwards. Looks like he's going off now into the hands of Diogo Hassi Ferreira. Got a man out wide waiting for it here. And Rodrigo Morta. Can they find a Marquez? Slings it across Guedes. Goes out to Morta, who's in touch, so they will go back for the original penalty. And we have got there, bet you've never been to their ground. Says Penny Lane. Whose ground? Like the Portuguese or the Australians? Pimpy thinks Korombeti can't tackle. Do you remember that tackle on Mapimpi? Says More, I remember that one, yeah. And then they had a bit of a push and a shove, and I think it actually ended up with Makazole and Mapimpi going to the bin, didn't it? And also we have got there, Hamish, you look like a naughty viewer. I feel like it's not really an insult though, is it? Because like cartoons are cool. Well, they used to be anyway when I was watching them. Did anyone used to watch Scooby-Doo? I used to love that show. I probably would still watch it if I could. I think it was the last movie I saw. They said bad luck comes in 3. Says Eric J. We have got there, you look like Noddy with your cheeks. Says Stone Cold there. And yes, I saw Noddy with a small car. Says Grant. Now line out throw again for Portugal. Tajir. Get this one right, and he has done just that, although it's slapped away. And McWright manages to clean it up for the Australians. We're now back in possession, 20 metres out from their own try line. Storti almost had the turnover. In fact, it was Tajir. And also we got their fanboy Ian says, I was there from Eric J. I haven't even left my borders, but I'd love to go to Old Trafford, says George. And I remember when Summer Karevi was scary. Now he's easy compared to guys like Appleton. I feel old now. And also we have got their Aussies have a bonus point yet, says Leon. They certainly do. So now the ball is firmly in the Fijian court. If Fiji can beat Portugal, they will go through. If they end up losing but within 7, the Fijians will still go through. But either way, they'll want to get themselves that victory just to help really secure their spot there. Now Tajir, nice offload away. Good running rugby coming from the Portuguese now in the 53rd minute. There looks like he's lost that ball. Yes, he has. Fraser McWright has been able to steal it. Done very well throughout this game up to this point. And sorry, not yellow card, says TF. And also, we also have Penny Lane in South Africa. It's a VIG company, says George. And also, what if Tonga wins by 30, says Ian Foster. Well, that completely changes that group, that is for sure. Now, what Jezman says, good week. And we have got there, Hamish, you are the same age as my eldest daughter. The naughty song was stuck in my head for a decade. And you made it start again, says Tim. So I do apologise for putting it back in your head. Although, bit of a tune, wasn't it? So you might be thankful in some regards that you get to hear it again. I wonder if it's on Spotify. Ben Alderson is one of Jeremy Clarkson's sons, says John. And also, we have got thanks. I think Fiji will do it, says Leon. Yeah, theoretically they should. But, of course, one extra bonus point against Georgia would have secured them that spot already. Looks like they're making a few more changes for the Portuguese in the front row. Going to be David Costa going off. I believe that is... Who's that number? He got a yellow card last game. Oh, it's actually the number 16, Francisco Fernandez. The same age as one of my daughters. She's married and a doctor, says Ian Foster. So she's been busy, hasn't she? Now, it's going to be Marika Korombeti kicking it in behind. Now going for the touchline. Guedes, straight down the middle of the field. And also we have got there, Hamish, do you think Ireland could throw the game against Scotland? They actually can't afford to. Because if Scotland win that game with a bonus point and or the Ireland side don't get a bonus point. Ireland are knocked out of the Rugby World Cup. And it would be Scotland and South Africa who go through due to the head-to-head rather than the points differential. So they can't actually afford to lose that game. Whereas some people always make personal comments about looks. Oh, what about their looks, says Stull? It's going to be a good kick in behind. Doesn't quite become a 50-22, although Marika Koromberi, he was walking with the touchline. You seem too young to remember Noddy, says Judy. We have also got their postman Pat and the black and white cat. Yeah, that was also an old school one. Wallace and Gromit. Remember watching that? We got that from Video Easy, where you rent like a videotape. That's a knock on from, it was Appleton. Drops that ball. I always tell her no one cares about her work stories. People save lives every day. International footy as once a week at the most, says Ian Foster. I mean, you should probably be more supportive of your daughter. At the end of the day, she's doing some pretty good work. Yeah, nah, Marika. Just kept it in the field of play. If Australia, not a yellow card, says Romaine. And Postman Pat ran over his cat, says Timid. Is that why the series ended? Because it was just Postman Pat, and his unfortunately dead cat at the end of that. Looks like Perezi just headbutted someone's knee. It's not the best way of doing things. And it looks like he's going to have to go off now for an HIA. Please tell me you also read Tintin. No, I didn't read. No, I haven't seen Tintin or read any of the books. If Tonga win, I'll become a vegetarian, says George. And also had a girlfriend like that once too, says Blues Nate. And Noddy retired after catching Postman Pat in his bedroom. Any thoughts on what's happening to Eddie Jones? Well, he looks like he's considering going to Japan. That was one of the rumours that were going around. I don't know if he actually will do it or not, but there's a chance that we do see it happen. I should mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is greatly appreciated you all being here for this live stream. We've got plenty more coming in the near future alongside this game. We're also doing Springboks versus Tonga, which is just around the corner as well. So yeah, if you are new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is greatly appreciated. And Matty Faisler says Ian Foster, the Wizard of Oz, says Vusumuzi. Or Vusumuzi, I should say. Noddy and Tintin were same era, says Judy. Yeah. I used to watch Brum. Did anyone watch Brum? Brum was cool. It had a tune and a half as its theme song. Please say hi to my wife, Jolene. Please tell her to come. And join me for the South African game. Amy says, Andreas, I think, Jolene, you should join Andreas for the South African game. I'm sorry at the bad time that I stopped my sentence, but I saw like the capital letter after and thought it was a new sentence. But yeah, watch the game with Andreas. He likes you, I assume. Now, kicking it in behind. If Australia not yellow car, says TF. And also we have got there Ian Foster left rugby to become the world's greatest rugby coach, says Ian Foster. Ball bounces out the back for the Portuguese. Marquez just, the back line for Portugal, even when it looks rough, it still seems to be able to go the way that it needs to, if that makes sense. Oh, that's a tackle to the neck. It's probably going to be at least a penalty, if not a yellow card. Once more, the crowd have just seen it on the big screen. The tackle on Marquez, who tackled him too high. It was Lalakai Faketi. It was a rugby league tackle, that one was. On the chest, is initially on the chest, just joined live. We live, baby. Says it was Sula Ganyo, or Ganyo, hopefully I said that correctly. And also we have got any link to watch full game live. Says Pierre Carlo, the best bet is to go on the Rugby World Cup website, because they will have a where to watch section where you can find out exactly where you can watch depending on whereabouts you are in the world. Did you guys enjoy my geography quiz last night? Although the guys did, you welcome. Says George. Now Portugal kicking this one for the corner. They can score now. They've still got 22 minutes remaining in this game, which means there is still time. Oh. See, that doesn't look like the chest from that angle. That looked like it did end up hitting him square on the chin. You pronounced my name perfect there, Amish. People seem to struggle with the full name. I say they can just call me Vusi, just to make it simple for them, says Vusumuzi. And also, what happened to Alf, Did he pass away, says David? Alf. Who's Alf? Isn't off home and away? Now rolling forward, 5 metres out from the line. And hi guys, good luck, says Charles. Now, penalty goes the way of the Portuguese. Another chance from 10 metres out. Alf like ET went home. How's that not yellow, says Rudy? Yeah, like it was very close. Well, I would have thought it actually met that threshold. I just tuned in why the references to cartoons I want to play go box. Says Craig Stevens. And yeah, Springboks just around the corner. Going head to head with the Tongans. We will be covering that game as well as having an hour's build-up for that contest. So that is in 50 minutes time, ladies and gentlemen. But if you are new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is greatly appreciated you all being here throughout these live streams. We are only 65 away from reaching 36,000 subscribers. So if you do want to help us get there, perhaps we aim to get there before the end of this stream, and then by the end of the Springboks, we could go for like 36 and a half. I won't even watch that game of the Springboks. They won already. Says Charles, you could just pop in to say hi throughout the game. We will be chatting about that game as well as, of course, what's happening in the future for the Springboks, who they would be going head-to-head with in their quarterfinals if they do make it to there. And Sharky and George, I bet you remember that. Now it's over the line. Portugal, with their rolling maul, have collapsed over the try line, and they do get the second try of the match now for themselves. Who was it? Was it Tajer? It looks like it was Tajer who gets the try. There are smiles on faces, although now the referee's calling someone over. I think this is going to be Matty Faisler going to the bin for 10 minutes. Alf was a hairy alien, had a haircut and went home. Says Charles, and bravo Portugal, says Romain. And also, we have got there dry white wine. Only these Kiwi channels are the more entertaining and honest, says Benz. Yeah, hugely appreciate you being there, mate. Matt Faisler off the field for 10 minutes now. Oh, okay, and they're actually going to check this one for the TMO to see whether or not it is a try. Also, look at there, dirty Matty Faisler. Says Ian Foster. And also, my vape is Gummy Bear. Says Trajan and Springboks are already drinking Black Label. Or Black... Is it Label or Label? Do let me know, Stull. And Gummy Bear's bouncing here and there and everywhere. Says Busumuzi. They are checking the grounding here for Tajer. Ball's out of his hands. Or is it? Okay. It's been lost out of his hands. Good work from Punefa Masili. And that will be as no try. And also watching all the way from Sri Lanka, says Gayesh. And there is on Springboks will play drunk tonight, says Charles, and fish and chips, says Ali. Oh, bloody, I'd love some fish and chips. I've been eating like kind of healthy over some of this World Cup. Other times I have like a occasional like snack that's not so healthy, but like, 6 hours I'm leaving Gauteng for a week. Says Stan. Let me subscribe with my 5 other accounts. Love says Stone Cold. And also we got a label and label. Okay, so it's label rather than label. A label is in clothing, and also a label. Oh no, that's a ladle. Never mind. Forget that. A label. Wait, label. It's pronounced or label. We've got label and lab as in clothing, so it's label. Okay. And also label, Hamish, like a label on a container. Oh, wait. They want to see actions of 16. Wait. They're just checking to see if number 16, Matt Faisler, because they've already sent him to the bin, are they going to check to see if this is a penalty try? It does sound like, hoping to reach 36.5k subbies by the end of the bot game, hope do. Says Gary Smith, right. So what does Matt Faisler do here to stop? So they're saying he slowed him down. Are they saying he slowed him down to the point of not scoring? This is going to be a really weird scenario because it's either going to be, it's going to stay as a yellow card, but it's whether or not it becomes a penalty try for the amount of impact. It's too far away, says the Georgian referee. So it will be a yellow card still, and also it will be the penalty to Portugal from 5 metres out from the line. I never heard of Care Bears, says Trajan. And also we have got their Bring Back the Magic roundabout. Was that like before the Magic school bus? And did they ever like collide? And Carling Black Label is also known as Zamalek. And also we have got there in Canada, there was a commercial, Mabel, another black label. Says, Gus and the Hamish Leave Fish and Chips, you should try mutton, bunny chow, or kota with mango, or I do like mango, whilst watching the box in Tonga, although this would be like for tea tonight rather than now. I should mention about 20 minutes remaining in this contest. Chance here for Tajir. The man advantage. We saw how much of an advantage the Australians got when they were playing up against 14. Now Portugal looking to do the same, although Tajir, the ball's gone through his hands, and it will be back for the knock-on. And now scrum for the Australians. Fish is one of the most of my favourite foods as well, including the chips. Says Mornay. And also Moto Please. Says ZFR. Late, but what's up, Hamish? Hope you're good, brother. Well, I had a good weekend, brother. Says Flanders, I certainly have. It's been an entertaining one with the rugby that we've had. We've had some close games, some well and truly blowout games of rugby as well, but I think that there's still going to be one big game coming up later on tonight. It does start in an hour and 45 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We will be covering that one on the channel as well. Appleton needed in the ball. His weight, says Ian Foster, all 40 kgs of it, and Portugal will become at least the new Italy over the next 4-year cycle, says Igor. Great score for the Pumas. It's Black Label, Hamish, popular South African beer. Surprised they still haven't in North America, says Benz. No one ever throws games. That's rubbish, says Trajan. Now handling errors at the moment. 5 from the Wallabies, 4 from Portugal. Bunny Chow is from KZN. And also Carling, says Benz. And Italy is still crying. Shops are shut, says Crumpus. Now McDermott. And the ball in again. 5 metres out from the line. Oh, guys, it's just come out now that Sia Khaleesi will do the kicking for the Springboks, says Charles. Decent option. Now McDermott gets his kick away from inside of the 22, but now it's back available for the replacement. 23 firing the ball across. Oh, the coverage is just slightly cut out for us here in New Zealand, but I believe they did send that away to the right-hand side. Now they have gone back to the left. Oh, big shot from Pone. Famasili drives the man backwards. Oh, check, time off. They're going to have to stop it. I think Pone Famasili, that was a frustration tackle there, and he might have just got himself a yellow card. Hang on, no, it's 22 gold that they want to check. I think that's Samu Karevi. It's direct contact to the head from 22. Please explain it to Hamish what kota is. Absolutely tasty, says Sean Lees. And also, I see you have only one reaction video, thinking of doing more, says Stefan. Although the only problem with... is that all we're looking at? Is it... no, Sami Karevi, he's led with the forearm to the side of Appleton's head. I didn't think it looked like that much, though, to be honest. But there is a bit of an extension, which means he might end up getting himself at least a penalty against him here. No, mate, where do you stay in New Zealand? Says Willie, so I'm halfway down the South Island, so halfway in between Christchurch and Dunedin. This meets a yellow card threshold, they have also said, and that's going to be Samu Karevi now, who will be making his way off the field for another 10 minutes. For the Wallabies, they're giving Portugal a chance back into this contest now. Karevi now continues his World Cup blunder. And now the Wallabies down to 13. They're getting ridiculous with these hits. Says Trajan. And Samu led him with an elbow and Bok to score the first 100. Says Albert and Tonga. Says Krampus. Okay, they're going to review it. I don't see this getting upgraded to a red. And if it was, I would be pretty surprised. Got a Powerade though. Samu Karevi decides to go for the water instead. We have Gadea. Okay, I like her a little bit now. Says Cited. Our refs were told to bring parity to this game. Says Marlon, how many yellow cards has been so far? So that is the third one of this match now. And also, someone is in the here. We have Suriasi Vunivalu. Great question. He was supposed to be coming off the bench for the Australians. Okay. Carter Gordon was ruled out, so that's why Samu Karevi comes back in. We have Gadea. I like Kiwi lads because they always shout loud. When the Springboks get a try, says Charles. Do you prefer PC or console games? I'm more of a console guy. The only game that I played on the PC was The Forest. Other than that, I'm terrible at PC gaming. That's going to be the Wallabies, though, this time at Rolling Mall. Portugal got close, then shut down late by Punefa Masili. Again in this one, Appleton. And also 13 versus 15. And there he is, says Ian Foster. That's why I morph, anybody says Craig. And get the right taste, nice and bitter, not sweet. Alcohol content, says Charles. Make my own potato beer. 11% alcohol per volume. One glass is 500 mils. Will knock you out, says Stahl. You make alcohol from potatoes? Is that because of the starch, I assume, or something like that? Or is it, what part of it, do you cook the potato first and then you make it into alcohol? Or is it with a raw potato? Thanks, beautiful country. My children and grandchildren stay in Paraparaumu, says Willie. And also, do the Wallabies have money on Portugal? There's Gus. And also, so the Wallabies are on 2 cards now. They certainly are. So Matt Fazer's got another 7 minutes. Samu Karevi, they will have to wait to see whether or not his card is upgraded. In this case, I'm more of a fan of Salisi Arayasi or Salisi Karevi. Says Ian Boston, I make vodka from potatoes. Raw potatoes. So what do you do to the raw potato to get vodka out of it? Of course, you'd have to add vodka, wouldn't you? Vodka is made from potatoes. If I squeeze a potato and then suck on it, will I get vodka? No, probably not. There's a few more things that go into it, isn't there? Rot it, says Crumpets. Oh, so I wouldn't really want to suck on a rotten potato. Bad, inconsistent refereeing this World Cup. But yeah, according to everyone, it's only South African fans complaining. This World Cup, everyone are confused with these poor decisions, says Just. And also we are drinking pineapple beer during lockdown, says Charles. There is potato liquor, vodka, and moonshine. Potatoes make gin. 4 ingredients only, says Stahl. I feel like I've got to go to somewhere that uses potatoes to make alcohol now. To learn it. You can make alcohol from anything that contains sugar. Could I make alcohol out of a banana? Maybe. You peel the potatoes, then dry them out, then mix the dried out, and then drink it and ferment it, says Krampus. I was making wine out of Woolworths apple juice during lockdown, says Gareth. Alpha Masili, 15 metres out from the line. McDermott. Back across to the left-hand side here to Rob Leota. Sugar, yeast, ferment. Absolutely bananas liquor, says Gus, and got to ferment the potatoes, then distill the mash, says Igor. I know this sounds like a strange statement, but I feel like if I knew it was fermented potatoes that my alcohol was made out of, I probably wouldn't drink it. Just because I'd be like, that's a bit strange. But it's normal, but it's just the idea of my potatoes slowly rotting away, and then I'm like, I'll drink that. I feel like my brain wouldn't allow me to, if that makes sense. Make alcohol from anything organic, because some can be poisonous, says Charles. And I went metal detecting by night during lockdown. Only me, says Gerdowick. And the ferment the potatoes, then distill it to get vodka. And yes, alcohol from bananas is a thing. Banana wine is a big in Tanzania, says TKC. And the discussion has not been consistent, says Rudy. Now, Dave Parecki, brilliant bit of defensive work from him. The yellow card will remain as a yellow card for... Okay, Portugal were not happy here. I think that was because he's just showing that it was his shoulder, but it wasn't, Samu. It was your forearm, but it will remain as a yellow card. Could have been chasing like a madman. And fries are the best use of spud, says Daddy. It's about fermentation. And wine is grape sandwich, says Krampus. And banana beer is a weak alcoholic beverage that is popular throughout Africa. It is made by fermenting bananas with the cereal flour, says Sean. Lockdown in Australia taught us how to make our own beer by force. This conversation is just with how boring the rugby is, says Ronald. It's in a patch where we're just waiting for the scrum reset, though. We've had a couple drop balls in a row, which is why somehow we've got in that direction. They're just showing here, Dave Parecki. The tackle, huge shot coming in on the number 11, Geronimo Portela. Morning, Hamish. Australia not worth wearing the suits, says Sione. We will have it on for the next game, though, I should mention. But it was just quite cold, so I thought I'd be better off, not wearing it. Joe makes me want to drink, says Albert. That will be the penalty to Portugal. Quickly taken by Marquez. He did take it roughly from the mark, so they do say play on. Now the try scorer, Betancourt, makes his way forward. Marquez offloading it up for Portugal. If they can score now, they still do have enough time to be able to get back into the contest. That's a knock on from Portugal again. Now Callaway going to send this one way down the park. Portugal retreating, taking it nicely inside of their own half with Guedes. Get him through one tackle, but he is taken down low. And Australia now trying to get the turnover, unable to win the breakdown. We've got there, when I say in Mexico, we have traditional mushroom stew. Says Ian Foster. It was close to the touchline, but keeping it. That was Marika Corambetti. The question is, was that illegal? A nice offload there from Portugal. Numbers on the outside. It's a 4-on-1. Callaway gives it off to Guedes, who just halts the momentum due to the juggle of the ball. 10 metres now. Marquez back across flat. Pone, Farmasili looking for the turnover, not getting it quite. Big shot from Marika Corambetti. He's just flying around, smashing into anyone that's moving. And it looks like it's a little bit slower for Portugal to get back to his feet. Now Marquez looks to the short side. Good low tackle mate again. Just me and my pal Johnny Walker and his brothers black and red, and we drank alone, yeah. Says Trajan now out wide. Appleton doesn't get tackled by his opposite number, Lolokai Faketi, but it hits him in the back and does bounce into touch. Add oxygen to your fermented beverage. A couple weeks later, you've got vinegar. Isn't it weird how that works? Like when you really think about it. And also, how about a jacket for all the quarterfinals? Seem to wear it only for New Zealand and South Africa, says the Curtis. That's not completely true. But for all the quarterfinals, we will have the suit on, yes. But we've had it on for a few of the other games throughout this Rugby World Cup. I think we wore it for 3 games on one of the earlier rounds and then another 2 games on one of the other ones. I think back-to-back games. Yep, alcohol, the best kind of poison known to man, says Albert. And also true, it's is a terrible score for Australia. This cool story, bro. Oh, Marika tackling too high again. I mentioned about it. He's 1 inch off a yellow or a red card most of the time when he's out there on the field. He's got lucky there. Although they've said time is off, so maybe they are going to be checking this one. Okay, I apologise, Cesar Curtis. It is okay. It does look like it is just South Africa and New Zealand, though, to be fair. Like, in terms of, oh, yeah, Marika, that's still not really an arm wrap, but it's going to be illegal from Marika. Did you get to watch the Ryder Cup golf? I didn't, but I was going to be watching it all throughout this week, although now I do know who wins it because it was mentioned right at the start of the live stream, which side got themselves the victory, but I'll still end up watching it, I think. See how it goes. Might even play golf today. Although saying that, I don't think I'll get a chance unless it's after work. At like maybe 5:30, get a few holes in. Go fishing maybe this evening as well. Should probably sleep, but there's so much to do and so little time. Betancourt has gone silent. Says Ian Boston, Portugal will learn. Says Gus, and also Eddie Jones jumping crying with joy yet. Well, I mean, the thing is, the Australians, they've got themselves the 4 tries, which is all they needed for this game. They just needed a victory. So, like, they won't be impressed with their performance here, I wouldn't think, but they won't be completely and utterly disappointed because at the end of the day, they've still done enough to get themselves those points. And don't drink any alcohol. Mango and orange juice is my favourite thing to drink, along with glasses of Coke, says Mornay. And also, we have got there Hamish asking Zimbabwe and hear about Kashazu. Guaranteed 7-day high, says Sean Lees. Obviously, I don't think the Aussies care anymore at this point, says Albert. The thing is, they could still make it to the quarterfinals, though. If Portugal pull off the upset next week up against the Fijians, Australia will have to take on England in the quarterfinals. Sounds like every country is competing for your suit. Maybe you should let them bet on it. Should fund new things, says Okhurt. Over-leaning from the Australian front row. Just 1 minute to go before Matt Faisler can make his way back out onto the field. Kawira Kurbalo should have been chosen, says Ian. And also Eddie Jones about to pull his greatest Houdini trick and disappear from the World Cup, says Justin. Okay, Pone Farmasili having an in-depth discussion with the referee. Don't overlean, same as you, says the ref. And I like what Kiwilad's doing for us, says Charles. And we have got plenty more coming later on today. We have got in 30 minutes' time, we are starting our Springboks versus Tonga build-up for that Rugby World Cup game between the two teams. Portugal letting them down, gave away many penalties to score. Says cited also we have got there, don't use jack, or just don't jack your own hooch, that stuff's dangerous. Says Gareth. Now big scrum from Portugal. Pushing the Wallabies backwards. They've got the penalty advantage as well. Extremely close, and they do get over the line. The replacement flanker. In fact, it's going to be instead Rafael Simoes who has scored the try for the Portuguese, and they are now back in the game once more. 10 minutes remaining. Rafael Simoes, though, scores the try. The Portuguese fans are absolutely loving it. Is this a good try? No video, right? Says Jonathan Manson. So for this one, it was the penalty advantage in favour of the Portuguese. It looks like they've taken the whole turf with them. They're trying to replace it. It's a whole chunk of dirt and grass that has moved. Like to see Australia still in the World Cup. The game needs them, lads. Says Dennis. And the kick is good from Marquez, now making the score 29 points to 14. Now, my original prediction, I believe, was 33 or 32 to 19, was it? 33-19, something along those lines. But yeah, that pitch has been completely torn up. It's actually really weird looking at the turf for this World Cup, though, because it literally does become just like a speed bump on the field. To replace your divot, says Gus. And I was at Hamish scoreboard, says Joe. So yeah, currently 29 points to 14 at the moment. Portugal have acquitted themselves well, says Rick. Oh, sorry, that was Eric. Yeah, the try being scored. I will pop a bubbly if the ABs win the World Cup, says the Latrell Mitchell. And we've talked about it on this live stream, how no matter who wins the World Cup, what we might do after the World Cup is over is some sort of, like, just a chilled out barbecue live stream. Just get a whole heap of barbecue food going. Randomly stream it, because why not? And I feel like that will be like a little nice after party of the World Cup. Now, Dennis making his way onto the field. That is for Tajir. Should also mention, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are only 45 away from the goal of 36,000 by the end of this match. If you do want to be one of those 45, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now back across to the left-hand side. Appleton slinging it back across Portugal. They need 3 more tries, or at least 2 more tries and something, to be able to walk away as the victors in this contest. And Portugal, the minnows champions of this Rugby World Cup, says Mauricio. They've done very well throughout this World Cup, Portugal. Told to use it now inside of their 22. It will be João Belo. Gets that one. Wallabies at a low point, and it happens to the best. How we deal with it is the measure of character, says Tamid. And only seeing Fiji versus Georgia highlights now. Talk about a great escape for Fiji. Yeah, they did well in that second half to fire back into that contest, because after the first half, it did seem like it was definitely going to be tricky. Our scores should have been 29 points to 28, says Rudy. Now it's going to be a knock-on from the Australians in the breakdown. This time, Pone Farmasili, the man who puts it down. Now, 8 minutes remaining in this contest, getting notification coming through to watch Kiwi lads to do with a team called Springboks or something, says Bruce. But yeah, it's going to be an entertaining one, that one. Springboks versus Tonga. We've got an hour worth of build-up. That is because we could not fit it all in to only 30 minutes or so. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot to talk about. Andre Pollard is going to be a huge talking point of that build-up, talking about where the Springboks go from here if they do walk away with this victory with the bonus point, and what is next for the defending champs. The score is 20, fun fact, says Eric J. And also, remember when I said Pone was all beef? Says Ian Foster and Tonga can beat this Wallaby outfit. Says Blues name. Springboks, never heard of him. Says Gareth there. This game has run quite long. To be honest, we've still got around the 10 minutes remaining in the contest, or around 7. It's going to be about a 2-hour game. And guys, as dawning on Australia how bad the score is. Says Cool Story Bro, now skip pass. Wow, that's really slung out wide. It's gone over the top of everyone into touch. New Zealand will dismantle South Africa, and Portugal and Chile. Both better showings than the USA accepted, says Gus. And also the Bok says Corinne. Hopefully I said that correctly. And also Bok says Albert there as well. But yeah, that stream is only 25 minutes away, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, be sure to pop in early for that one. It's going to be an entertaining, fun build-up. I'm at Faisler. 6.5 minutes remaining for the Wallabies. Have not been able to score more than once in this second half of rugby. Samu Karevi now back out on the field, finding the gap, running up the middle. Great low tackle made there, though, on him by Rodrigo Murta. Now going to the left-hand side, Richie Arnold off to Angus Bell. Steps back inwards as he felt Pareki would have been driven into touch. In fact, Matt Faisler has now made his way back out onto the field. Tom Hooper, 5 metres out. Marika Korrenberry goes round the side. Scores the try for the Wallabies. I just jinxed that. Big time. Will there be Wensleydale cheese at the barbecue? I do not believe so, mainly because I don't know what that is. But there might be cheese in general. Fozzie, have you eaten your wheat bix? Says Blues Nate. And also, why then 35-7? Says it was there from Stan, and All Blacks have to heat the box first, or meet the box first, before dreaming of dismantling us. And yeah, but New Zealand will dismantle South Africa with respect. Big difference. Says, cool story, bro. I expected a 40-point win by the Australians, taking nothing away from Portugal, but my gosh, Australia are bad right now. Respectful, 35-7. Cheese is rotten milk, says Krampus. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit weird. It's like sour cream. I don't really like sour cream, but I think that's because I know what sour cream is. Big mistake to leave off Quade Cooper, says Mike C. Medium rare steaks with beer to wash it down to celebrate after the World Cup. Maybe a joint Hamish, says Sione. New Zealand, Ireland, South Africa, France can all beat each other on any given day, says Eldon. 5 minutes left in this fixture now. And also we have got there, that's Kim and Bear. You can practice your kicks with your dad/mum after the World Cup. I enjoyed seeing those videos. Says Justin, the kick has missed away from the side. For Ben Donaldson, scored now after 75 minutes, 34 points to 14. On any given Sunday, you mean, says Cool Story Bro. A nice bit of work from Marika. Go the Bok, says the fellow there. And this is going to be the end of Angus Bell's night. He has put in a big ship on your commentary. Bro, my left eye keeps deviating to my boss's Vietnamese wife. He's wearing heels, says John. And I'll say, yes, it's Sunday, says Albert. I've kicked off from the Portuguese, who do slap the ball back. One last chance for them, perhaps, in this contest to get themselves another point. It is Francisco Fernandez. Played a little bit of prop and hooker. In fact, he's playing 16 this game, but I don't believe he's coming in as a throwing option for them. And go the Bok, says Charles, and I can't call this World Cup, lads. It's really hard to know. He's going to lift the cup on October 28th. And the fact that we are less than a month away from the Rugby World Cup final, starting to get into the business end of the competition, that is for sure. Thank you for the great commentary, says Patrick. Thank you very much, mate. Now driving forward again nicely for Portugal. Looking for that ball to pop out the back, and it is available here. Thought about another offload. Strength being shown by Blake Scoop. To the left. Portugal inside of their own 22. Running out of space there. Couldn't quite find the next passing option. Betancourt. Yeah, starting to really heat up. Says Eldon. And also Trajan Fair. It should be legal in my opinion. Says Gus. And I'll send you a Castle Light case through Uber Eats. Says Victor. We have got there as well, Hamish, you will not get much time to read these comments later. Very true, but I will try my best to read as many as I can while also doing the commentary. That's why the Rugby World Cup build-up for that game is going to be, I guess, the best time to be able to chat consistently, if that makes sense. And then also the occasional messages, hopefully I can get as many as I can throughout that match. 50-22 attempt from Mark Nwanganitawasi, sits up now for Guedes again. Down 40 metres out. And anyone thinks Springboks over Tonga by 7 tries? Thanks. Says Jonathan, I think that they will get themselves quite a few points. I think I predicted 77-14 as the prediction for that game. New Zealand have won the best of the world, the winners and victories. There's about 2 red cards tonight for the Springboks, says Charles. And that's the thing, you can't afford to be getting cards at this stage of the competition. Same with injuries. But if they do end up with a red card, that more than likely will mean that that player will be missing the rest of this Rugby World Cup. So it could be massive. Well, it looks like Josh Kimini now out there on the field, getting 2 minutes at the end of the game. I feel like that's a very Eddie Jones thing to do. 2 minutes, give him one chance. Maybe he gets a carry if he's lucky, but more than likely he won't end up touching the ball. Irish waiting now for the champions to play Tonga, says Dion. And also South Africa will lift over Rugby World Cup, says Tapello. Here as well. They're just showing the work that we've seen from Rob Valentini. But yeah, on debut as well for Josh Kimini. Gets to take part in one scrum. Green and gold, said the deal. One of the commentators has just said every active member of the Wallabies World Cup squad getting some game time. I don't consider that game time when you're only playing 2 minutes. He looks like he's really keen though. He's just charged over, try and get in position. They do skip him there in the passing option though. Rob Valentini, Kimini protecting it for the Australians. Now nice inside ball off to Fraser McWright. The ball has been dropped. Portugal now ending up with this ball once more. Suliasi Vunivalu trying to roll it towards the touchline. It's got to be a penalty. They wouldn't release him. It's a clear tackle. Well, thanks, Kiwi lad. Good game. After party is a great idea. Other Men's Cricket World Cup starts in a few weeks. Let's get stuck into the backing New Zealand, Pakistan and South Africa. Says Ben's big kick there from Portugal, and it is a great one down to the 22 of the Australians. Now roll, roll, roll. Your joint, smoke it up a tree. Mary Jane. She is all I needs, says Blues Nate. It's a nice little rhyme, isn't it? Last time a box underestimated Tonga. Score was 30 points to 25 with one bounce of the ball, denying Tonga the win, says DGM. Except for Ireland, says Cool Story Bro. And you can see, even playing Portugal, Oz hands on hips. Maybe part of the problem is they unfit. Thank you, lads. You guys are thirsty now. Go drink Black Label, says Charles. Now 20 seconds remaining. Thrown in by Dennis. And that almost was a knock on, but I believe they were able to regather just before the ball does touch the ground. It's a new advantage this time now for the Portuguese. To the left here. Nice bit of work. Solid running line. Straight into Tom Hooper. To the right now. Inside ball. Going off to the youngster Martins, who was very close to scoring in that first half, but unfortunately right at the last moment ended up getting it slightly wrong. Now still available for the Portuguese. Guedes gets his offload away. Not about the offload. It's going to be the knock-on advantage. Now finds Leleoasa. Kicks it down the middle of the field. We are after the 80 minutes as well, I should mention. So as soon as the ball goes out, that will be the end of the contest. Big Finn coming in. Brilliant run from the Portuguese number 23, who just couldn't quite get his next pass away until the offload. It was Vincent Pinto, should mention as well. Now, Portugal, they don't want this game to end. It looks like they just want to keep on playing. Little grubber attempt. Sits up there for Blake Scoop. Now finds Leleoasa. Goes for the kick. It's bounced back off for one of the players. Looks like there's an injury here. Or is there? The referee has said it's a scrum, but we're 81 minutes in. So it will be the end of the game. The referee doesn't realise it. Going to be the scrum. Oh, okay. It has to be a scrum because the ball hit the referee. So it's unintentional, so they do need to play the scrum. That is a unique scenario that we do not normally see. But yeah, the reason it is a scrum rather than the end of the game is because it's hit the referee, so it's an unintentional play. So Eddie Jones is saying, why isn't it full time? I don't think he realised that hit the ref, though. I think a lot of people thought that was just a knock-on. Now, 82 minutes in. Tonga need a via Fafita for this game, says Latrell. Well, he shouldn't have shoulder charged Finn Russell in the head. Tonga's discipline has been something that's let them down in the recent past, and it seems like that has been the case once again. There we go there. Thanks, mods. Says Gus. Now finds Leleoasa. Putting the ball in now for the Australians. Going off to the right-hand side. Offloaded back to Ben Donaldson. Now Mark Nawanga Nidawasi up to the halfway line. I believe Australia still feel they've got one more left in the tank. There goes your demand, bro. Says Nazi Williams. And down getting intense. Says Blues Nate. And then the score almost identical to Georgia and the Wallabies, but less than one. Says Blues Nate. Now Leliawasa off to Donaldson. I think Australia, it's stolen by Portugal. I was going to say I think they want to close out this game with a try, but now Portugal have got that chance. Sami Kurivi almost joining the breakdown from the wrong side. Big bump and challenge. And Eddie Jones worried about full time, where he gives more time to score a try. Tells you all you need to know about him, says Justin. Yeah. Now, nice run here for Portugal down the wing. The lone try scorer. This stage of the contest, a Betancourt. We are hiding, then unhiding each other's removals, says Gareth in there. They are 4 minutes into injury time. Tackle has been made. Portugal still fighting for one last try here. They won't get themselves a bonus point. They won't get anything more out of this game. But it just tells you the kind of competitive nature that this side has got. Vincent Pinto gives it straight back to Rob Valentini, who runs into his teammate. Now finds Leliawasa. Now onto the left-hand side. Donaldson with the chip in behind. It is going to be sitting up. Almost taken by Sami Kuriri. Man, he's hit the ground hard there. It's a knock-on to close out this game. And that will be full-time, ladies and gentlemen. 34 points to 14. The Wallabies get themselves their second win in this Rugby World Cup competition. And I have to say, Portugal, they put in a very valiant effort for this contest. Thanks so much. You are much better commentator than most TV commentators, says Leon. Thank you very much, mate. And we have got another live stream just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. That will be in 14 minutes' time, the matchup between the Springboks and Tonga. We have got a big build-up planned for that matchup. So anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. But I do thank you all very much for tuning in. Portugal getting the one try of Betancourt. For the Australians, they were able to get themselves the 4 tries, so they walk away with the bonus point, which now means that the Fijians need to beat Portugal or lose by less than 7 to get themselves over the line into the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals. But thank you all very much for tuning in. I will see you all in around 13 minutes time for the next live stream. We will see you all for the next one.